I hate their dad so much.
Oh my God, their
I
dad
hate their dad.
and the way he always has a comment
uh-huh.
after his mom says anything, after the daughter, after anyone says anything, he always has like a snarky comment, and I'm like,
Negative
yeah,
comment. I hate it so
it's
much.
it's very like on point with the times though. That's
Oh,
one
for
thing.
sure. When he's like, "Oh, don't," she puts words in my mouth or whatever about the
Yeah,
mom. I was just
like
like,
just
"Oh,
very toxic, like masculine dad
mm-hmm.
mentality.
hate that character." I'd be okay if he died.
Me
he
too.
could,
Honestly, I can't.
the
Yeah, I would
parents
not.
to be fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset.
Welcome to another episode of the Keeg Talks. The Keeg Talks, Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1, technically, because the whole season is not out yet. I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. I got two awesome guests that are going to be talking with me about this season and, past seasons and everything. All right, there we go. We are live with another episode of the Keeg Talks. Even though it's listed the Keeg Live, that was our old name. I should have changed that. Damn. It's the Keeg Talks, Spider-Man No Way Home. You may remember that we did this episode last year in December when Spider-Man No Way Home came out. And yeah, it just got re-released, and but our original podcast did not get released. So this is our second time, but our first time releasing this podcast. I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. We're here to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, and I can't do it alone. That's why I got Brian Long, aka Captain Comic Rex. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to discuss this movie. I feel like there's been a lot of things that have happened since this movie came out, and I'm just interested in discussing its effects on the MCU fandom and fandom at large.
Because it came out in December 2021, and we're here in September of 2022, and a lot of Phase 4 has happened since then, and a lot of things have happened, and it's interesting. We're going to get our thoughts on what has happened between now and then. So, okay, all right. Definitely a different way of viewing this movie,
Yeah. I feel like this could end up being a real state of the superhero movie union address if we really got into it, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's fair. But I got Brian on, but I also got Justin, aka Freddy's roommate. Justin, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. And I'll be playing the Black Spider-Man, referencing this movie.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, if each of us are Tom, Andrew, Toby, who's who?
Okay, who's the most responsible?
Who out of the Spider-Men, who is the most responsible?
Spider Maguire is the most responsible.
Okay. Well, Brian has a kid, so
I guess.
Did you want it to be you?
I guess you could be the most cool Spider-Man, whatever.
I think Justin did call Peter too in the group chat, so I do feel like I have to defer to Justin on that one. You did call Peter.
They're all Peter.
He's Peter too, though.
Peter too. Spider Maguire.
Wait, I thought, is Toby Peter too?
In the film, yes. In our hearts.
Debatable. Oh, okay. I've mixed that up. Fair. I mixed up what numbers everybody was. But Justin wants to be Maguire?
He's the best one.
Okay.
Yeah, I said it. Hot takes are flying already. Let's go.
You're not going to get any debate from me. I watched those movies so much as a child. I had to memorize.
I was a child,
so
yes, I'm biased too.
So just talking about my experience watching this, not even the re-release itself, but today I took my mom to go see No Way Home. And again, it's been 9 months, right? Like, it's been 9 months since it came out. And like, I obviously saw it back when it came out, but my mom, like, she hadn't seen any of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And so, like, she has seen 1 and 2 of Toby, and then none of Andrew, and then she saw Homecoming with Tom, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna show her Spider-Man 3. I don't need to. Like that, it doesn't factor into No Way Home. I don't think so. It doesn't. Other than Sandman, but like, whatever. So I showed her Amazing 1 and 2 for the sole purpose of hoping that Gwen's death breaks her heart like it broke mine. I still cry. I cry every single time I watch it. And then understanding like where Andrew is in this movie, right? But my mom, I think, likes Andrew the best, and we bond on that. I do like Andrew the best. I don't think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is as bad as people say.
No, I quit.
I'm sorry. Oh, he's gone. Justin's gone. Okay. Well, I guess look, it's just Brian and I
quit.
Well, here's my take on Andrew. I think he's a very good Spider-Man, but I think the movies he's in are just dog's dinner. Like it's an inverse ratio. He is as good as the movies are bad, in my opinion.
Okay.
And because of that, it drags all of it down with it.
Okay.
Now, is he my favorite? I wouldn't say favorite, but I think there's elements of his performance in those movies that are really good. Like I like in Amazing Spider-Man 2 the scenes where it's just like him in the Spider-Man costume, like doing random Spider-Man things. Yeah. Like the part where he has a cold and he's wearing like a hat and a scarf. Yeah. It's a very Spider-Man image, a very Spider-Man bit. But I'm like, if Amazing Spider-Man 2 were just a 20-minute short film of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man doing Spider-Man things, I'd probably like that movie a lot more. But then there's everything else in that movie.
I'm not arguing with that. I have some thoughts, but Justin, you're going to jump in on this one?
So when the movie first came out, I made a commitment to watch every single Spider-Man movie up until No Way Home. Because like I know that
you hadn't?
No, I had, but like, you know, like I have some of them on DVD. I have none of the Spider-Man Drews on DVD.
Okay.
I just couldn't stomach it. But going over, like, actually from like at the time, 2021, I didn't realize how much of Spider-Maguire is influenced by Superman, specifically Christopher Reeves. And that literally shone so bright through No Way Home. I was like, that's Clark Kent. I think Toby is playing Clark Kent. Like that's where the basis of his Peter Parker comes from. But for Spider-Man Drew, I think that those films were really influenced by the time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And of The Dark Knight. And I think, what else? Just dark and gritty superhero films. I think those films are very cynical. I think those are like, that's a mean Spider-Man. There's a scene in Amazing Spider-Man 1 where I was aghast when Peter Parker is literally just like berating this guy for stealing a car.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He can't fight back. He's just like decimating this guy. I was like, Jesus.
No, you're making it sound like Spider-Man. He beat him to a pulp. He was toying with him. Is that the problem?
The problem is that it wasn't heroic. It wasn't. He had the great power and he was not responsible with it in a way that there was no lesson to be learned from it. He was just being a douche.
Isn't that the point, though? In that beginning part, he's hunting for Uncle Ben's killer.
I think, okay,
I don't think does he ever find him?
No, he never does.
He doesn't, no.
I rewatched those movies the last couple of weeks. Sorry.
No, but I think, Justin, that you're making a good point where sometimes they take the Spider-Man is snarky and does quips, and they sometimes push it to a point where it feels like he's just bullying people.
Well,
yeah,
I
he was a bully to me.
I mean, think about in the comics all the time he's made fun of the Kingpin. He doesn't do it anymore. But it's just
that's punching up.
Ultimate
that's punching
Spider-Man.
up, though.
No, but he's making fat jokes. He's right, like
okay, that's different. Of the Kingpin could throw you through a window, kill all your family, etc., etc. That to me is different.
Okay.
Because it's just a goon. You know what I mean? Like. But that being said, that's one of the many problems I have with that movie. Besides, the suit is terrible in Amazing Spider-Man. It's the worst Spider-Man suit put to film. period.
I agree.
But those films felt very non-hopeful and very cynical to me, and that doesn't feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah, they are of their time very much so.
Amazing Spider-Man seems to come out from like Ultimate Spider-Man. Like it just seems like it was inspired by Ultimate Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man 2, also the same thing, a little bit different, but even like their Electro design that's the Ultimate Spider-Man Electro. And like the way they do things in that. That being said, like my parents don't like superhero movies. And like my mom is just like got really into Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. And it was cool being able to talk to her about it, because like we talked about it on the way home after this. She was like, I wish Sally Field showed up, because she really liked Sally Field and Aunt May. And like
good casting. Yeah, good casting.
But it's funny because we're watching Amazing Spider-Man 2, and again, I like Amazing Spider-Man 2. I personally think the Harry Osborn, if you took that part out of the movie, just his character and everything, you figured out another way Gwen Stacy dies, I think it would have just been in a more solid movie. Cuts off about 30 minutes, just a better movie. Personally, I think the three people who hold down the fort in Amazing Spider-Man 2 are Gwen, Peter, and Aunt May. And like, my mom just, Sally Field was doing there was a part when she was like, "You're my boy," right? In Amazing Spider-Man 2, "You're my boy." And my mom turns to me and she's like, "Just Sally Field's amazing." And I'm like, yeah, like, she didn't get much time to shine, but I do like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Sorry, this is just and then Andrew Garfield in this, in No Way Home. I don't know. He was my favorite part.
I do feel like the big thing that a lot of people took out of this movie was the sort of like Andrew Garfield redemption arc that he gets in this movie as Spider-Man, right? And not just like in a sense of like, oh, he gets to save MJ the way he didn't save Gwen. It's like, no, Andrew Garfield gets to step up and show that he was a better Spider-Man than people maybe gave him credit for. It's just the material that he was given was not conducive to his talents.
There's a part, remember that part in the movie where I burst out laughing because I didn't catch it the first time, but Electro like floats down to Andrew, and he's like, "Oh, you ain't even the shit anymore," and he's like, "Oh God."
In No Way Home?
Yes.
Yeah.
You ain't the shit anymore.
I mean, one of my problems with No Way Home, by the way, originally in this episode, I don't know if you remember, I said No Way Home 10 out of 10. I watched it again, and 9 out of 10, because there's a lot of plot holes and little things that I'm like, they could have done better. But I feel like they hired Jamie Foxx, and part of the Jamie Foxx contract was two things. It was, hey, I just want to be the fly guy that I am, right? Like, this is Jamie Foxx at his, like, he's without a shirt, he's ripped, you know, he's all, like, groomed, he's looking good. I'm no doubt that was part of his contract. And then second part was, hey, just let me riff and just say whatever I want. Some of it's not that funny, and some of it is funny. But, like, some of it is him just being like, hey, I'm cool, man. Like, that's Jamie Foxx.
Here's the thing, though. Jamie Foxx, like, Electro was always a fucking goon.
Yeah.
Like he that's what, like.
You're talking about in the comics or in the,
the
movie? Yeah.
There hasn't been a good Electro story ever. Point blank ever. No one gives a fuck about Electro. Yeah, he's a jobber. And I think it's really hilarious when you have Alfred Molina going, "The power of the sun in the palm of my hands." And then you have Electro, "Oh, I got the new."
Dude, is that what he said?
Yes, I just watched the movie. He floats down and he's like, "How you like my new suit?" "I got the new." What the fuck is that?
I'm pretty sure it was. They were like, "You sure you don't want us to write your lines, Mr. Fox?" And he's like, "I got it." Like,
but in a way, I think this is like what makes the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery great, is because you run the gamut from megalomaniacal geniuses like Dr. Octopus, and then you have like dudes who wear animal costumes who rob banks and have bags with dollar signs on them. Like, you have to have that spectrum of villainy, quote unquote. And I think that's part of what makes them endearing, is that you have them at these different levels and you can play with the dynamic between them and Spider-Man. And I think Jamie Foxx's Electro, even though it is different from the comics, it feels truer to the spirit of the comic version of him in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yes. Where, like you said, Justin, the word jobber was a perfect way to describe him. That's absolutely what he is. But you play that with charisma, you play that with, a sense of humor, and you become a very memorable character.
Exactly. Okay. Now that I watched it with a more critical eye this time.
Yeah.
Lots of plot holes regarding specifically the other jobber, goon of the group, Sandman.
Okay, yeah.
He says out loud.
Oh, sorry. Is this a good point? Is this a good point to throw out Lil Wayne? But what's a goon to a goblin?
And good night, everyone.
You're bringing up goon. There's goblin like.
Quit.
I didn't say it. Lil Wayne said it. Was he talking about this? I don't know.
Anyway, it's this Sandman. What the fuck was going on?
His motivations make zero sense in this movie.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, not all
it
of them
makes sense
died.
in the beginning when he's allied with him. I'm like, okay, that makes sense from where he left off. But then by the end, when he's like making a sandstorm and destroying the Statue of Liberty, I'm like, how did we get here?
Also, Sandman should want them to hit the button.
Yes. Right.
Because he would get sent back to his universe. No
to his daughter.
But because here's the thing. They said two things about these characters. Is that they were all dead. Or at least some of them are dead, right? But
or were about to die when they got
whatever.
Back.
And then second is, but for sure, they all knew who Peter Parker was. And that is not even true from the get-go. From the get-go.
Okay, who's the one who doesn't?
Does Electro.
Okay,
he does.
I have a no prize.
He does.
Go ahead, Justin, explain it, because I had a no prize explanation for that, but maybe there's
because I was hot off of seeing the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Right.
Green Goblin, Harry sends Electro to kill Peter Parker specifically.
When?
Yeah.
When
at the end of the movie when they're teamed up.
When they're teamed up, and when Harry is in kind of like breaking back into the office, Electro shocks the CEO or whatever, and he brings it back, and he's like, all right, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to kill Peter Parker. And he goes, right. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong. Because Harry Potter, no, Harry Osborn only finds out that Peter is Spider-Man at that last possible moment.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
In the electrical grids, he's like, why is Gwen here? What is Peter? And then, whatever. So Electro never finds out. Because I was watching it.
Okay.
I was wrong.
And I was like, does he ever find out? No, he never finds out.
But, okay, so here's my second explanation. He didn't die in that movie.
So he would have just appeared in this universe regardless of the spell happening or not?
No, as in they had another adventure, and then he just lost.
Oh.
It was Amazing Spider-Man 3 that was never seen.
And he dies in that.
Yeah, there you go.
We can do that. That works.
He dies in that, and he learns that Peter is Spider-Man.
Sure.
Or
Brian, what do you think?
Maybe there was well, I thought it was what you said, Justin, but apparently I misremembered the movie.
But that can't be real either. That can't be real because they say, what do you remember? Because they're all saying how they remember they're about to die. And then Jamie Foxx is like, yeah, I was hacked into the grid. I was absorbing all the power. And then, oh shit, yeah, I was about to die. Like, that's what he says. That was the last thing he remembered.
Maybe when he was absorbing all the power, he found Peter's Facebook profile page or something.
That's what it is.
Like,
he hacked into
he found something. It was like, oh, that's Spider-Man. I don't know.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense because then why is Venom in this universe?
The Venom thing makes no goddamn sense, and Sony sucks, and Sony needs to stop.
The Venom thing is so funny because I think it's a testament to how much Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures are not actually communicating with each other
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any idea what each other is doing, and I don't think they have any interest in cluing them in as to what's going on, especially with Morbius. And there was an interview with the director I read where he was like, yeah, we didn't know what No Way Home was going to be until we saw No Way Home in theaters. So it's very clear to me that there's no communication.
Marvel's not telling Sony what's going on.
No, not at all.
So, question. Wait, okay. I think the Venom thing could have worked out, just not that Venom.
Sure.
Because in Spider-Man 3, Venom dies in a big old blast.
Right.
And his body is literally gone. No bones, no nothing.
Yeah.
And then you have a Sinister Six, which is another thing that annoyed me. I'm like, just add one more guy.
maybe they're like, they don't want the Sinister Six right now. Because personally, again, and this is something we've talked about, my personal idea for what No Way Home was before it obviously came out, before we got the multiverse angle, like my idea was like, I did not want the multiverse in this. I don't look. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse does everything great, awesome, arguably the best Spider-Man movie, and I'm fine with the multiverse in that respect.
It is.
But I don't feel that the multiverse is an integral part of Spider-Man's journey.
Sure.
You're right. 100% you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I agree with
Booster
you.
Gold from DC Comics, yes. Right? The Flash, yeah.
Totally,
DC
yeah.
Comics.
Well, I would say DC Comics, period. Like, I associate the multiverse with DC more than I ever have or ever did Marvel. And it's so funny to me that Marvel is now totally eating DC's lunch in terms of the multiverse on a popular scale, because they've managed to build out their universe so much faster. And now they've escalated to this point where they're like, all right, let's do a multiverse. So it's so strange to me that we now live in a world where I feel like most people's first introductions to multiversal concepts will be through Spider-Man of all characters.
That's what's weird.
Rather than DC.
And I get that, like, Spider-Man did it in the cartoon in the 90s, but, like, again, I don't find it integral to his mythos. Clones?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I would make an argument that clones are more integral to Spider-Man's mythos than the multiverse.
Whether we want them to be or not.
Right, exactly.
So is it because... Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead. No, you first.
May I ask, is it because you don't like multiple Spider-Mans?
No.
What is the main... Okay.
No, it's not that. I love multiple Spider-Men. I just also think that, like, when you do a movie version of superheroes, like, you got to try new stuff. I understand, like, this behind me. But then also... like, you gotta state, like, what's the soul of the character? What is his stories about? Somebody like Spider-Man who up until No Way Home still had not gotten with great power comes great responsibility. I feel like the theme, the thesis of Spider-Man doesn't hinge on multiversal versions of himself.
I would build on that and say that even though I don't think it's integral, it is part of it. And I like it being part of it, especially in the context of the way it's presented in Into the Spider-Verse, where it emphasizes the idea of anyone can be Spider-Man. Spider-Man is not something that is, restricted to one race, gender identity, religious belief, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But what I think my sort of like confusion or initial distaste with the multiverse being brought in is like, it can be a part of Spider-Man's mythos. I don't know how I feel about it being the third adventure for this version of Spider-Man.
Exactly.
When it didn't get introduced until 40 years, 50 years into his existence?
Exactly.
It felt off.
Just like if the Joker is Batman's first movie villain, like in a series, like it was in Batman 89, there's a problem. I liked how Amazing Spider-Man was doing it, where Norman Osborn was being built up too. But the execution was off, obviously. Personally, in a perfect world, Sinister Six is Spider-Man's sixth movie. In my perfect world. In my perfect world, that's what it is.
You're never going to get that now. It's kind of sad. We're never going to get
I think we'll get in Tom Holland's. I think we'll get in Tom Holland's.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I'm going to knock two birds out with one stone at one point. In that I loved Alfred Molina and I loved Jamie Foxx. But now you just shot yourself in the foot for any future Dr. Ock, any future Green Goblin, any future Electro.
Completely, yeah.
Like,
because there's no reason why he shouldn't immediately jump someone named Norman Osborn that he encounters.
Well, here's the thing. I think you could do one story and only one story about him meeting his universe's version of one of those characters, distrusting them, and seeing where that takes them. But you can't do it multiple times. One could say he could do it with Norman Osborn, and Norman Osborn's nice, and then you're like, what the hell is going on? And then you can play into, like, Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon did a thing where it's like, who is Green Goblin? You could technically do a mystery. You could do like a who is Green Goblin, and we think it's Norman, and Peter thinks it's Norman because of these whole shenanigans, and it turns out it's not Norman. We could play with that. We could, but we only get it once. Personally, I wanted Jeffrey Wright as Dr. Octopus.
I wanted what's his name? Luke Skywalker.
Mark Hamill?
Mark
Hamill. That's right, you did.
Oh, interesting.
Mark Hamill as Doc Ock?
Oh. That'd be pretty good.
I know, right?
I can see it. Yeah.
I feel like wait a minute.
You wouldn't have Mark Hamill as Norman?
No, as Doc Ock.
Why Doc Ock?
Yeah.
Because he has Doc Ock energy. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
As
he has.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say he has the vibe of someone who can put on the very sort of like erudite, like I'm smarter than everybody kind of vibe. I feel like he could pull that off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. But I think can you grab more Spider-Man villains for Tom Holland's 4, 5, 6?
Well, we have 3 that we have 4 really.
Mysterio, Vulture,
Mysterio coming back.
Scorpion.
Oh, you're talking about for Sinister Six. Well, I meant like
if we're doing a Tom Holland Sinister Six. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So who do we have? Who do we have?
So
you got Mysterio and Vulture.
Okay.
And Scorpion. If you really want.
I want him. I want him to have a suit. Give him a goddamn suit.
And bring back Bokeem Woodbine and be Shocker again.
Shocker. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
we got
4.
4.
We just need 2 more at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Introduce them in 4 and 5, and then
Yeah.
Would you guys want to see a Rhino?
No.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
An MCU Rhino could be cool. No.
Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Rhino. I feel as though sometimes superhero movies will take a very silly concept and say, we got to interpret it. We got to make this realistic.
Yeah.
Let's put him in an armor suit.
Yeah.
When the juiciness and the beauty of a character like Rhino and the silliness is that he's a giant fucking dude. He doesn't even need the horn. He's just a giant fucking dude.
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking that the MCU at its current state is willing to do genuine interpretations anymore, and that saddens me a little bit.
I think they're more likely to do it now than they've ever been.
So the reason why I think
dragon,
this,
man.
The reason why, because I feel as though I'm just shooting out the hot takes.
Yeah, go for it.
I feel as though the MCU currently is not willing to put in the long-term work anymore.
Yeah.
To wait. Because I feel like, for example, did we really need Black Panther 2 this year? Did we really need it this year? Did we need a Miss Marvel show this year? In that, let me finish. In that, we have a character who is looking up at the Marvel Universe and is seeing all the heroes from up afar in Jersey, but we also have Spider-Man. We also have Kate fucking Bishop, who are both doing the same job, or the same thing right now. You know what I mean? So space these guys out so they're not eating each other's lunch. You know what I mean? Like, did we really need these shows back to back to back to back? I would have loved a Miss Marvel show 2 years from now when she can have a fucking Avengers team to look up to. That's alive.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue about that. What I would say is I agree with you because the sole purpose is the MCU has a gift that the comics don't. And it seems like it's a there has to be an idiom for this. What's a gift that turns out like what's something that you don't think is a gift but it is a gift? What's it called? Like
gift horse and the mouse?
No, but that's a different thing. But
a gift of the Magi?
No. Anyway, the point being is comic book characters don't age.
Oh yeah, Monkey's Paw, yeah.
That's not what I'm looking for. There is something. But basically comic book characters don't age, so they go through the same cycles over and over, right? But the MCU, like people are what's up to BT Artist out there? BT Artist says, Justin, I love you.
Oh my gosh, the BT Artist?
The BT Artist. BT Artist also says we got Scorpion, Shocker, Vulture, Craven. We don't have Craven. Bullshit, we have Craven. Craven? We don't have Craven? Craven is on Sony's side. Like
he's in another
Tinker
universe somewhere.
I mean, you have Tinker in the MCU.
Yeah.
That's true.
BT Artist says we also don't have Tombstone, Jackal, Black Cat, Mr. Negative, or Chameleon yet. Yeah, there's a lot of Spider-Man characters to get to. What was I saying? Oh, we have a gift with the MCU where we're forced, like human beings are forced to age. Yes. But because of that, we can tell a story of the MCU over a course of 50 years. We have that like that again, I don't know what the idiom is. There has to be something that like we didn't realize is a gift until like we look at it from this way and we're like, we can tell fresh stories. We can tell a story where 30-year-old Peter Parker is training Miles. If we understand that these characters can't be released at the same time. So I agree with Justin where I'm like, Miss Marvel should have been waited upon because I don't want a Miss Marvel that's technically 2 years younger than Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then when's Miles gonna come out? Is like
I also
you know what I mean?
I understand your perspective, but I also think we're dealing with this weird almost time dilution because so many of these movies should have come out 2 years prior to these shows. But because of COVID, things kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. But the shows were able to just continue more or less unabated.
Also, we do need Black Panther again because of time restrictions. People are gonna age. So we kind of have to deal with like, you know. Sorry, did I cut you off, Brian? I'm sorry.
No, I agree. No, that was just what I wanted to say, which is that it's you're not wrong, Justin, but I do think that I think that probably was the plan at one time, and yet because of COVID and the sort of relentless forward momentum of these things, they shifted so much around that it probably would have felt a little bit more natural if these movies had come out when they were supposed to, but because they didn't, we're now, like you guys are saying, getting this weird sort of like all the trains are stopping and there's more trains coming and the track's getting more and more backed up.
The way I see it is we should just have an understanding that we're like at best case or like worst case scenario, we get 10 years with any of these given characters. Let's just say we get 10 years with them, right? And then they retire. We find the Marvel universe shifts around and it changes. So the question is, do we really want our next 10 years with Kamala being 2 years younger than Peter? And then what, Miles is going to be the same age as Kamala? Like Miles is going to be 2 years younger than Peter? It's going to be weird, right? And then they're both going to phase out around the same time. It's going to be a problem. That's why they're holding off on Fantastic Four and X-Men and all that stuff. Because like those are phases down the road. Like we don't need to blow our, like there's not enough time right now. So once you start that clock with Black Panther and the Black Panther cast, we're getting what, 10 to 15 years with these with those characters. Every new character. Ironheart starts this year, and we're gonna get like 10 to 15 years of I forget her name, but with Ironheart. And so I don't know. It's weird. So I'm with you, Justin, on that. I'm not with you. I don't know if this is what you were saying. I don't want a slow burn. Like, I don't need a slow burn within an individual character. I just need them to space out the introductions of these characters so we can, you know what I mean?
I agree with you. I've always held the torch that we're missing an Avengers movie. because between Avengers 1 and Avengers 2, we don't get any time with the Avengers just being a team.
Right. It should be a
which is so odd to me. In like a Marvel Cinematic Universe, we only have one movie where they're a complete team.
It's Age of Ultron.
Until they break up. And you're like,
yeah.
And like us as humans, we're like, oh yeah, we spent like a decade with these characters. But like, we don't know. Like, the fact it doesn't upset me. It just bums me out that like, man, really, we're really going the Secret Wars right now. We're really burning the King Dynasty right now. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it shows the limitations of this shared universe idea in a live action setting, right? Like, I'm not excusing it, but I think you're pinpointing what the limitations are, which is the time, the money, and the contractual and scheduling logistics to bring all of those actors together to make that movie, right? So I think when they're drawings on a page, you can put them together whenever. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it live action, then it suddenly becomes this entire Rube Goldberg of scheduling and all these other things that becomes impossible to navigate and manage. And I think that when they were initially like, Avengers 1, we're going to do this forever, I don't think they ever really stopped to consider, oh, wait, it's actually really hard to get, these 5 actors together, especially as they're becoming more and more popular and more in demand because of these films. So yeah, I think they just hit a brick wall because of that. Not excusing it, because I think you're right, but I think it's revealing why these things maybe aren't as effective in live action as they are in the comics.
That's the thing, though. Like, the TV shows solve that problem.
How's that?
Like, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the perfect, like, mini-series version of these properties. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Sure. Sam and Bucky haven't talked to each other. It's going to be really weird when they show up in Avengers 5 and they're buddy, and now we see it, and now we have it. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, should have been a movie. But it's like, we see, where's that equivalent between Avengers 1 and 2? Where is that equivalent to, like, I don't know if you guys are caught up on She-Hulk, Where's the equivalent of Wong being the Sorcerer Supreme? You know what I mean? We're getting that now in the show. Like, oh, now it's a connected universe. Oh, he's showing up like, this is a problem. You should do this. This is that and the other. But when the sky is being rewound in time, Wong's busy. All right, okay.
That's kind of the thing. By the way, the idiom I was looking for is a blessing in disguise. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, I can't believe we didn't think of that one.
Blessing in disguise is what I was looking for. Is like we think that it's a problem having these characters that are aging, but it's a blessing in disguise because we can tell new stories. That being said,
I do agree.
Comic books do this thing where they live in whatever the new status quo is. We have a big event that changes the status quo, and now, like, we're living in that new status quo, right? Like, it does that. And every, like, couple years, there's kind of a rough new status quo that kind of shifts. Is Thor alive? Is he dead? Is Asgard on Earth? Is it, in another realm? We don't know. Status quos change. But in this, when we do these movies, and this is where Justin, I think Captain America and the Winter Soldier should be a TV show and a movie, not one or the other, is because I want that living in the status quo, and then the movies are events. That's the problem with the MCU. And again, I love the MCU, but what I'm saying is, like, the movies are events, and the movies are always changing the status quo. But when can we live in the status quo?
Right.
That being said, I don't like Iron Man 3 for living in the status quo. So I don't know. I don't know what I want, maybe.
Why?
Maybe I don't like Iron Man 3. I like Iron Man 2 better than Iron Man 3, but that's just me.
Iron Man 2 is underrated. Hot takes flying off.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not gonna waste our time defending Iron Man 3.
have we? I just want to hear what's your guys' least favorite, and doesn't mean the worst, but your least favorite MCU movie before we get back to No Way Home.
Easy. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh shit. Okay.
Like hard. Like it's the worst MCU movie by far. Worse than
The
Dark
worst
World.
or least favorite? Is it the same?
Both.
Okay.
I genuinely hate that movie. But that's a whole other pod.
I like that movie better than
Okay.
Doctor Strange. You can do it. You want Justin? You can't have it both ways, man. You want the hot takes to fly, but you don't want it to fly in the direction you don't want it to fly. This is part of give and take. Doctor Strange is my least favorite Marvel movie. I don't need to go back and rewatch it. I don't need to. I saw it once. I'm good.
I'm not going to defend Doctor Strange. It's not that deep. But
No.
There's so many things I hate about Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. So with No Way Home isn't necessarily what I wanted. I wanted Peter to be on the run from the cops. I wanted kind of I wanted, personally, my thing, and again, I'm not writing it, I wanted a Kraven, Scorpion, J. Jonah Jameson kind of plot line. Where J. Jonah Jameson hires Kraven to hunt down Spider-Man because he believes, Spider-Man's a menace. And then Kraven ends up being, like, embarrassing Jonah on live TV to the plate where, like, Kraven no longer works for Jonah, but he's still hunting Spider-Man. And then Jonah equips Scorpion to hunt down Spider-Man. So we get this kind of different factions. So No Way Home is Spider-Man on the run,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of miracle of Spider-Man No Way Home, though, is that in spite of the fact I went into this like, I'm a little skeptical about this multiverse thing, I'm like, damn, this kind of works.
I like it. 9 out of 10.
I think for me, if we're doing like a full Phase 4 ranking, it's probably somewhere in the like upper middle tier for me, especially if we're bringing the shows into that Phase 4 ranking as well. Okay. But I think what pushes it over the edge for me, and I want to give a acknowledgement to Fatal Prose on TikTok, because I thought he did a great video really, really eloquently laying out this sort of interpretation of the film. But the idea of the movie that Peter is trying to save the villains is such a Peter Parker Spider-Man idea. Yeah. It's this idea that he doesn't want to let anyone die, even if they are people who are actively trying to kill him. And not only that, it's this great sort of meta commentary on the way all of the prior Spider-Man movies just let a lot of these villains die, because that was how you did action movies at that time. And superhero movies were still sort of within the action film genre and weren't trying to be its own thing like a comic book.
Batman Begins, when he's like, I don't have to kill you. I just don't have to save you.
Well, you did kind of kill him then, technically, if we really want to. I think that's manslaughter if we're really going to get technical with it. Yeah.
It's like a baby's in a burning building and you're like, I don't want to murder the baby, but I just won't save it. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. It's a technicality.
I'm pretty sure you just let a baby die.
But if we're looking at this, the way Fatal Prose lays it out, which is why I like the interpretation so much, is it kind of becomes this sort of commentary on restorative justice in a lot of ways, right? Because his whole philosophy is, I'm going to provide these villains with therapeutic treatment or physical treatments of some kind that they weren't getting in the real world, so that way they aren't given capital punishment when they return to their universe, right? So it's this idea of Spider-Man is in favor of rehabilitation rather than just punitive action for people. And I think that's awesome. And I think that's a really perfect Spider-Man philosophy to make a movie out of. And it makes the whole thing work in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, he doesn't say that they will be better people. It's just that the choices are then theirs.
Right, exactly.
Cured, right?
Exactly. Or at the very least, they'll no longer be motivated to be doing the things that they're doing and can hopefully make better choices going forward.
The quickest change, it was weird, but also like, I don't know, it was Jamie Foxx's Electro. Once he gets the powers taken, he's just like, well, fuck, we cool? Like, it was just the thirst for power and the opportunity to have that power that made him bad. But when he didn't have it, he's just like, okay.
Look, we've only got so much movie. We've only got so much time. But yeah, Fatal Pros on TikTok. Definitely recommend seeking out his video on Spider-Man Note. It's very worth watching.
Brian, did you see the re-release or no?
I did not. I actually wanted to ask you guys what you thought about the extended scenes and if it was just.
I was gonna ask Justin. Justin, what did you think about the extended scenes?
Hold on.
You have notes? Did you take the notes with you to the theater?
Yeah. No. Anyway.
For anyone who's watching us on our live stream, twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, you can see the notepad. But if you're listening to the podcast, that's wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can't. And Justin, tell us your notes. Were those real notes?
A little bit. Anyway, just my thoughts for this pod. So, don't see the re-release.
Oh, shit.
Because you're paying for the shitty school announcements.
Kind of, yes.
Literally, most of the added scenes is Betty Brant interviewing randos of like, oh, like, did you like know that Spider-Man was Peter Parker? There was also a small scene where everyone's yelling like at Peter Parker, like, climb in gym class, and he climbs the wall, and that's it.
Well,
hey, I'm not done. I'm not done yet.
What? Because there's a big thing about the deleted scenes that was in this that I think is a big draw for people.
There's a running joke about how Peter Parker always destroys monuments.
Yeah.
That's added in. There's a scene with Daredevil and Happy Hogan that's only like 10 seconds long.
It's a second scene with Daredevil or Murdoch.
Where the villains are walking into a Happy's apartment and he gets the alert on his phone while he's in mid-trial. And then Daredevil's like, put away your phone, and then you see the clip of them walking in.
Yeah.
And that's about it. So if you really want to see the for real shitty school announcements, that it's not worth it. It's truly not worth it. I have a list of things that we could have seen or should have seen instead of shitty school announcements.
Okay. By the way, might I add that not only did they add a lot of school announcement stuff, understandable, they lengthened each quippy scene with 2 more quips. They added like 2 more lines of dialogue to like almost every scene.
I agree with every change they made for the final product.
What?
Every single change, I'm like, yeah, I would have deleted that too.
Right.
But instead of this bullshit.
There were some good 3 Spider-Man stuff with the 3 Spider-Man.
Here's what's better. What's better.
All right.
Doctor Strange versus the Lizard. Because he captures him. And it's just like, wait, you're captured. And he's like, yeah. He has all these scars on his face. I'm like, would have loved to see that.
Oh, because we didn't see it in the beginning. You're saying like when he hunted him down? Yeah.
No?
Yeah, you're right.
Number 2, Tobey Maguire says, I've been looking for Tom Holland everywhere in this universe. A scene of him walking around looking for Tom Holland.
Yeah. Well,
at all. Anything.
I would have liked just to have a clip of each of them in their home universe, personally.
Really?
Toby is in his home universe. Andrew in his home universe. It would have been nice.
We could have had any of the Peters acknowledging that their J. Jonah Jameson looks the same.
Okay.
That looks familiar.
Yeah. That could have been a good bit.
Right.
Not acknowledged in the movie whatsoever. Right. None. Nothing. Zilch.
Yeah.
We need to acknowledge J.K. Simmons is a universal constant.
Well, we don't know that he's in Amazing Spider. We know J. Jonah Jameson exists in Amazing Spider-Man, but we don't know what he looks like.
It's J.K. Simmons. Let's assume
it's J.K. Simmons. We don't know. I remember a rumor that it was like Ice Cube for a long time. Remember that rumor?
I personally, my inspired choice for J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU was, and before he was the teacher, was J.B. Smoove.
No, he can't be mean.
I think he could.
No.
No, I think he could have pulled it off, and it would have been comedic still. Like, you know, but JK is great. You know, JK is great. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Reactions from anyone from the Stark side of things of their shit being stolen by Mysterio. Anyone. Pepper. Lil Morgan baby. Nothing.
Yeah.
None of
Morgan
that.
having a press conference and she's got a tiny podium that she's speaking at.
Morgan Stark, did you hear that your father's technology was stolen by Mysterio?
By the way, did we ever find out why Happy has the fabricator?
No. Why does Happy have the fabricator? We never know.
I think
Never
he took it for
addressed.
like personal use. I think that's the implication. Is that he took it to like
Fabrication.
But he never
to just
used
make
it.
stuff for his
He never
apartment.
used it once.
He was gonna at some point.
Okay, and here's my last one.
Yeah.
What were the villains doing when they left Happy's apartment?
Oh yeah, before
Where did they
to
go?
Celebrity.
What were they doing? Why were
Yeah.
they found? How did they get to the monument?
Why did the two show up
Literally,
late?
how did Dr. Octopus get to the monument? He's not a real octopus. He cannot
They should have
swim.
had him. They should have had a shot of him like on a ferry, just like slowly making his way to the Statue
Yes.
of Liberty.
Anything.
You're
How did
right.
he get on the monument?
Wait, you're right. So Goblin has his glider. He could have gotten there
Right.
first. Lizard swam. We see him get out of the ocean. Sandman goes like this, and Electro appears. Great.
Right.
Dr. Octopus should have been last to show up, which he kind of was. But then Green Goblin should have been first to show up, but Green Goblin was last.
Green
Where
Goblin's
did
making
Green
a dramatic
Goblin get his
entrance.
equipment?
That's a character.
Where did he get the new equipment?
Was that what he was doing? He was spending time building new equipment?
What were they doing? I would have loved anything. Anything besides the shitty school announcements. What the fuck? What the fuck?
I agree with them deleting those school announcements and those school announcements not being part of the original cut. That being said, they were fine. I liked them. I watched them for the re-release. I was
I'm
fine.
out.
I saw this is my second time watching it, and I was fine with it. I got something
Justin,
new.
Quit. I quit.
So we're recording this on $3 theater day. So Justin, I'll Venmo you $3 since you caught me up on what I would have seen.
I own the movie. I could have watched the movie I own on DVD. What the fuck?
BT Artist, I didn't see this earlier. BT Artist said, and I'm assuming it's talking about Marvel actors, not only scheduling, but some actors who start not even wanting to be there. I think we're talking about how there's an expiration date for actors, I think. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah. I didn't want to let that
go. Can I pose a topic of discussion for this for you guys? Because I was thinking about this. Okay.
Okay,
a topic of discussion. Do you guys feel like, because I feel like Phase 4 especially, but I feel like it really spiked post No Way Home. We've gotten a lot of, how can I put this, morons who are just like never shutting up about how Phase 4 is mid, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if the hype machine that led into this movie kind of broke the fandom a little bit.
Yes.
Because I think that the expectations were so high and they were largely, I think, met. And now it's gotten to a point where everybody wants a No Way Home level of like unexpected fan service, multiverse cameo, blah, 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 in like everything. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on this, but yeah.
I think there are two problems. One is the fan service. The level of fan service in this movie was next level, right? So they want that each and every time. Each and every time they want Deadpool, like blah, blah, blah. Like each and every time, and I have something about that. I'm going to cycle back to that. But it's also the multiverse. The multiverse has fucked up everything. Because I'm reading comments and people are like, nobody's dead, it's the multiverse. And I'm like, what? Sure. Like, and that's what people have been talking about for a while. Like, why don't you just get an Aunt May from a universe, any other universe? And then somebody will chime in, yeah, get her from a universe where Peter Parker died. And then bring her into this. So then you're fine. And it's like, what? Okay, so there's that. There's also everybody scouring the trailers and being like in Thor: Love and Thunder, where the Benatar takes off, and you see Korg and Thor, and then space to the left. People were like, that is an empty spot. There's somebody there. It's probably going to be Deadpool because Deadpool and Korg are playing Fortnite. Yeah, you know that's how it works. And it's like, no, but so everything in the trailer for this movie, in No Way Home, the lady who is the dean or the assistant dean or whatever for the MIT, right? She's saved on the bridge. People are like, oh yeah, that's a stand-in. They're gonna put some other person in her place. It's like, that is an actress. She is on Barry. Like she is an actress in and of her own right. She's playing a character. What do you fucking mean she's a stand-in?
It feels like the fact that not everybody, but many people online were predicting Andrew and Toby, and were proven right. We've gotten to this point where the fandom wants to predict the movie and win this game that nobody's playing but them, rather than just enjoy the experience of a story.
It's also the clickbaiters. It's the clickbait journalism. It's the clickbait TikTokers. No doubt, without a doubt, Mephisto is in WandaVision. No doubt, Mephisto confirmed. Not gonna say who I'm saying, but you know, I think that when we create our content, I think we have a responsibility. Sure, you can make fun things and whatever, but like, don't peddle bullshit. It's bullshit. Right, you can say, I saw some clues on why I think Mephisto's in WandaVision. It's totally different than Mephisto confirmed for WandaVision. It's different. Right. It's different, you know? So they're feeding into this cycle of expectations, and people with multi-million TikTok followers, I think, have a responsibility to those followers instead of breeding a cesspool of prepubescent children, you know, that are going to throw tantrums. You know what I mean? Also, dare I say, the people who want everything now, they don't seem the type that are very giving in any other situation. So no, anybody out there who has a chance to be in a relationship with this person, don't do it, because they're going to go for themselves only, and then they're going to fall asleep. They're not about the slow burn. I was not expecting that to me. That's a hot take. They're not about the slow burn. They're about pleasing themselves. They're not about pleasing others. They're about the quick gimme. That's all they're about.
Okay. There you go.
But that's just a theory. That part's just a theory. The other part,
that's just a theory.
I stand by.
Justin, do you have a thought on fandom reactions pre and post this movie?
I have big brain thoughts and I have little brain thoughts. Shout out to the afternoon special, Bobby. But little brain thought, I feel as a lot of the problems can be solved in a perfect world of rearranging the release schedule. So, for example, what if, bear with me.
What if? Like, what if?
Nah, we actually delete what if, but that's what it is. Movie-wise, we rearranged where Spider-Man and Doctor Strange 2 are at the end, and then everything else is before. So you have the same effect of the Infinity War Endgame effect.
Sure.
So it's big all ending. Building to this, but now we have a kind of like,
repeat
Black
that.
Widow, like move Spider-Man and Doctor Strange at the end of Phase 4.
Of Phase 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like, and that solves a good 80% of everyone's problems.
Sure.
Because I don't know Marvel's plans, not an insider, but it felt as though we had, bear with me, we had the normies, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, who can't really interact with that level of like, because they're not there yet. They're not that level. Black Widow's a spy movie. She's not going to be in the multiverse. You know what I mean?
Right.
So even though it's great, Black Widow is one of my favorite MCU movies, having it end and have the ideas are, you know what I mean? Like, okay, for example, I don't know if I'm making sense, but like
you are, yeah, you absolutely are.
Build expectations and fan service over time. Tell good stories to set up that payoff later. Is that what you're saying?
In that the ideas that we will be following for the future of the MCU into Secret Wars and King Dynasty, that you can follow the through line better.
Yeah.
If it was in order. And I know the COVID of it all and stuff like that. For example, what if we had WandaVision, Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange?
When?
Like towards the end.
Oh, what was before Loki?
Before Loki.
What did you say? You said
so you're Falcon and Winter Soldier. So you're saying like a lot of the Marvel shows that we've gotten this year would have gone prior to what we got last year.
Yes. So we start off with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Or at the very least,
we start off with Hawkeye.
Like, cut Loki out and put it pre Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, so you get the multiverse inception.
Right. So as fans, we are watching. Oh, Wanda's doing this shit. Oh shit. Okay. Resolution. Loki breaks open the multiverse with the thing, and then immediately,
yeah.
And then immediately, Spider-Man: No Way Home happens, and then that isn't concluded with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
That would solve and I know the COVID of it all. I know that scenario is not possible, but that solves everything. Most of the things. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
I know that's not possible.
I would say still kick it off with WandaVision, because WandaVision needs to take place after the blip or unblippening or whatever. But after that point, we don't deal with magic or whatever until your Loki, No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness stuff. So we kind of set up the phase.
Yeah.
But basically, you got to think about, like, what is the story we're trying to tell in phase 4? Because when we deal with phases, we are coming off the heels of the previous phase. We are telling what this phase is about, and we're building up for the next phase, right? Each phase kind of has an act. So we're dealing with, like, Act 1, dealing with phase, like, the fallout of phase 3. Act 2, what is phase 4 about? And Act 3 of phase 4 is, like, where are we going with this, right?
Hey, so Dimitri, I love you. I think you're an amazing person. I think you're awesome. I truly do.
We're not going to prom?
I would like to call bullshit. I would like to call bullshit. I love you, though.
Okay.
This is a small amount of bullshit.
As in I'm speaking out of my ass, or you don't agree with me?
I think that there's a lot of revisionist history when it comes to the phases in their meetings. Because phase 2 didn't go nowhere.
I agree. I'm not saying that this is how they've done it. I'm saying in a better
how it should be done.
How it should be done.
Yeah.
A phase needs to have meaning, right? Like, what are the stories that we need to tell? I think it's the heroes. It's the world having been changed a little bit, telling the stories like Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision. Those deal with the blip, right? It has to do with new heroes rising up in the absence of the other heroes being gone. And then building us towards the multiverse, if that is the way they wanted to go, which it is. Like, I think telling that story would have been a smarter decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, otherwise people are complaining that this isn't the MCU that they fell in love with, kind of thing. And it's like, whatever.
That leads me into my big brain thoughts.
Was that small brain thoughts?
Yeah, those are my small brain thoughts. Okay. But is that too big brain for you?
Yeah. No, those are good small brain thoughts.
Big brain thoughts of there is not a scenario in our Lord and Savior of 2022 that we would have had a good response to a phase 4 that's full of women, people of color, with 3 phases. Now we have an original trilogy. If people complain about You know what I mean? We literally have a beginning, middle, and end to be like,
You're right.
well,
Yeah, you're
they
right.
did it in this phase. Well, they did it in this. Where's the big bad? Where's the Thanos level threat? Where's Galactus? You know what I mean? Like, and
Thanos
now
sat in a chair for like most of his appearances until Infinity War too. That's the
exactly.
thing that
And it's like we have people who
Kang's
like,
already done more than Thanos ever did.
exactly.
And we've had
like,
way more content in Phase 4 than we ever would have had in Phase 1. Like, Phase 1 was 5 movies. That's it.
Yep.
5 movies. 5 2-hour-long movies, right? You get 10 hours in Phase 1.
Yeah.
Like,
which
we were,
is
so
there's
10
not a
hours.
scenario where people wouldn't be like doing some bullshit takes on the internet of like, oh, it was better. You know what I mean?
Right. So
Yeah,
I get it. Your big brain thought is a little bit more cynical and a little bit more like
No, but it's right
realist
though.
of like
Sadly, it's very right.
I agree. Mostly because it's just I think it's also funny. They're just the way Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 were scheduled was let's just get our white male superheroes out there as soon as possible. So then now it's like, yeah, who is left? Like we saved Black Panther for Phase 3. We have Miss Marvel Phase 3. Like they kept them for last for their own machinations, right? Like again, I'll keep saying this until I get a thundering round of applause. Is that like the Avengers had a purple and a green man before a black and a brown man, like on the Avengers. Like,
so, and what also bugs me about that is, like, looking where we're headed, that I am so glad that we get cool, amazing new heroes like Shang-Chi and the new Captain America and all these people. But instead of the goal being to bring them all together, we are still looking back, and us as fans are still looking back like, I hope they bring Hugh back. I hope they bring Deadpool back. I hope that, you know what I mean? And it's going to be like, who the fuck's going to care about Shang-Chi when Deadpool's right there? You are undercutting yourselves. You know
that's
what I
why
mean?
they're
We're undercutting these new heroes by bringing it. I am desperate for a new interpretation of the X-Men. We need it so fucking badly.
Agree with you 100% on that. Yeah.
And just like, we really don't need the Fox films. We really don't. Let them die.
I am so Justin. I am so agreeing with you on that one. It's not even funny. Like there is nothing, and I think I've said this on multiple Keeg things. There's nothing that infuriates me more than people being like, with the multiverse, we could bring back the Fox movies. I'm like, they were already stupid, unnecessarily complicated. We don't need to add them multiverse elements to them. Like it was already too much and too focused on the same 4 characters over and over.
Yeah.
When there's a whole universe within itself that's just X-Men that has barely been touched.
The joke about the Fox X-Men is that like the Fox X-Men was already its own multiverse because each X-Men movie takes place in its own universe.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Basically.
The fact like everything is jumbled in it. Like the Nightcrawler being like born 20 years earlier just because
Angel too.
Angel's fucked up in that universe. Like, everybody's fucked up.
I get the split in timeline that happens at the end of Days of Future Past, but that doesn't create a person being born 20 years earlier.
It's all fucked up. Let it die. Kill the past.
How does that
Whatever
work?
Kylo Ren said.
Oh, man.
Let it burn a fiery death. Hey, anybody watching this, you already know. I have a whole pitch on how to bring the X-Men into the MCU. Go watch it. You'll like it.
I quite liked your pitch. I'll second that.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. I liked the way you... I like the way, correct me if I'm misremembering, I like the way you used the blip to do the Cyclops' plane crash. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
what?
great.
This has nothing to do with Spider-Man. I'm so sorry.
No. We
put this in the extended cut of this episode. We'll add some
this is our extended
a more
cut
fun edition of this episode.
These are the deleted scenes, right? Like this is the extended cut.
You know what's but you know what's funny too, going back to what you said, Justin, because you're absolutely right. Like the increased presence of women and people of color in Phase 4 was never going to go over completely smoothly from a shitty people in the fandom perspective, right? But what's so funny to me, and I'm not saying anything original here, but I was thinking about this in relationship to Spider-Man No Way Home. when you look at the philosophy of Spider-Man No Way Home that I was talking about earlier, which is like Peter Parker in between the events of Far From Home and No Way Home must have read some Angela Davis because now he believes in prison abolition. Like, this movie's politics are very woke, but to these people, woke is a woman or a black person or a other person of color exists.
Go woke
like,
or
that's
go
not
broke.
Woke. That's just what the
no,
world
go woke.
is.
Go woke or go broke, not or.
Yeah.
Go woke, go broke.
Like Captain Marvel, I hate playing this card, but I'm going to. Like, Captain Marvel had like a partnership with the US Air Force. Like, that's not very woke of them to do that for a myriad of reasons.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny to me the way that people think like progressive left politics are, which is just a person of color or a minority or a woman existing, versus what's actually woke, which is like Spider-Man might as well at the end of this movie have looked at the camera and said, "Hey, ACAB, abolish all prisons, I'm out of here." Like, that's basically what he does in this movie. It's just wild to me that this movie will not get called out that way, but She-Hulk twerking with Meg Thee Stallion.
The way I view,
oh my god,
the way I view the developments of Phase 4 when it comes to race and sexuality and whatnot is, you have to. It's like you got to break the bone to reset it. Like, the bone is broken, you got to break it to reset it. People say, "Ouch." People say, "Why is Zendaya being MJ this and MJ that?" I don't feel like I hear too many complaints about it like I used to. Like, people are roughly on Zendaya's side now, almost to the point of fetishization. True, it's a long road ahead, but like they don't. It's not the same, and I feel like every time the new thing is the worst, which means by now maybe they've accepted Shang-Chi. Now maybe they're like, "Oh, I don't like She-Hulk now. Why can't they be more like Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel?" I don't know. But like, I feel like, just like Supreme Court decisions, something that I learned in like poli-sci class was essentially major Supreme Court decisions aren't necessarily like public opinion being so overwhelming. It's like they're just like, no, I mean, we like, these are civil rights issues. Like, not everyone's going to agree with it. And then over time, we're like, how did we ever not have that?
Sure.
Or, recently we get Roe versus Wade abolished. Like, so I guess that doesn't fit in. But my point being is that we kind of have to force the change on the mainstream public. And then over time, they start viewing these characters as human beings and not hating them on existing, or at least the majority of people can change their mind.
Well, I think you see that because those same people will be like, "Well, when they did Ellen Ripley and Alien and Aliens, it wasn't forced." And it's like, if that movie came out now, which in a way it did, if you saw Prey, the most recent Predator movie, if that movie came out now, those same people would be like, "What is this woke agenda with a woman who's the hero?" And these people are always attacked by just the presence of someone who is slightly different from them, which proves that they've learned nothing from this superhero media that they claim to love so much.
Right.
Because it goes against the ethos of all of these characters.
It's funny when they say Miles Morales is a good example. Like, people didn't hate on Miles Morales when he first appeared, because people did.
Right.
People hated on Miles, not in Into the Spider-Verse, but in the comics, and maybe even Into the Spider-Verse too. But my point being is that, like, people hated on these characters when they first appeared. Like, people do this weird switch up where, like, the same people who are misogynistic on Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, some of them are taking the approach now, a couple of years later, that Monica Rambeau should have just been Captain Marvel. And it's like, well, yeah, that'd been cool too, but I don't get what fight you're fighting for. Are you trying to prove that you're not a misogynist? You're trying to, I don't know what's going on, but I think we have to force these, the representation on people so that they accept, at least if 5 years down the line, they're a little bit better for it. So Phase 4 is a rough thing. We're setting up all these like women and people of color, and I can't wait for Monica Rambeau to come back in the Marvels. Like, I'm very excited for Tiana Paris. You just gotta.
I can't wait for her and Kamala to hang out, and that's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great.
It's like, Carol, get out of here. Just like, it's us time. Like,
I do have a
I feel
question.
bad
Though.
saying.
What do you guys think the beef is between Monica and Carol?
If I had to guess, I would say that based on what we see in WandaVision, which seems to be that Maria Rambeau had a terminal disease of some kind, I would say that the beef is most likely exactly. Especially now that we know that well, I guess we don't know for sure, but I think the idea was probably like, you were gone for so long and you never came back to check on us, and now my mom is gone. This woman who maybe had a romantic relationship with her potentially. I don't know if Marvel's willing to go that far with it, but someone who clearly cared about you very deeply as a friend, you never came back and showed up, and now she's gone and you can't fix that. That would be my guess.
It could be one,
which I think is an interesting dramatic hook.
Yeah. It's you didn't come back to say to like, we thought we meant something to you, but you went out into the universe and like you didn't look back. We're such small ants, right? Or you could have helped her with her sickness, right? I'm sure there's a Kree method, but that's also used a lot too. That's used in a lot of science fiction and superhero stuff. It's like, with your powers, why can't you save me? Because you don't want to? That's Harry Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Fuck.
Hey, bring it back.
But like, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Because it's 9 months after Spider-Man No Way Home first came out, and now it's the re-release, we're seeing Phase 4 a little bit different. And it kind of kicked the door open for this ridiculous level of fan service and expectations. And like, people want just like multiversal everything. And again, they want a quick release, right? Like they just want their cake, and they just want to eat it up, and cake all the time, and ice cream and dessert, without realizing that like stories are stories. You need to earn the payoff, right? Like, and that's the problem with, certain creators being very much about the payoff without the buildup. They want that quick thing, right? They want, like, why don't we just see Yoda and Darth Vader fight again? Like, Yoda should appear. Why can't, like, Yoda, like, wouldn't it be cool if, like, Obi-Wan fought Darth Vader with Qui-Gon's ghost, and then Yoda showed up, and he was like, what's up? Like, I don't know. I guess it would be cool. Would it be? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, but people want that. They want Deadpool showing up in everything. They want, like, it is fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know. There can be too much of a good thing, and I think a lot of people haven't realized that yet, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it's just cameos, and the story isn't there, then why are we excited about cameos?
Right. Then you want a PowerPoint presentation, right? Isn't that what somebody said on TikTok? It's like, if that's the way you are, you don't want a movie. You just want a PowerPoint presentation.
Just add them, Dimitri. Just add them. Call them out. They all know what you're talking about.
The creator that said that.
Send them the Zoom link.
The creator. No, well, honestly, the reason I don't is because of weird ass followers. I'd like to think that like the followers on our pages are pretty reserved and smart and behave themselves. But when we're dealing with millions of followers, there are weirdos out there, So I'm not welcoming that. So no public beefs,
Public.
No, I mean, if
you ever see him in an alley,
if somebody wants to DM, no, remain cordial. We all travel in the same circles. I just think that we have a journalistic, and dare I say journalistic responsibility to not do clickbait at the very least.
Okay, Jameson.
That's not Jameson. Jameson's the other way. Spider-Man's a menace.
Hey, listen, I'm trying to bring it back. I'm trying to keep us on track.
Yeah. Another added clip that I don't get why. Let me know if this was added. When Spider-Man's outside, Green Goblin is punching him through the floor. He gets outside. He gets on the wall outside. J. Jonah Jameson's like looking up at him, and then the lizard pops out. He grabs Peter, throws him back in the building, where then Green Goblin pile drives him through a couple more floors.
That was in the original.
Was that in the original? The lizard popping back in just a split second?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't
Because
remember.
that's when J. Jonah Jameson got the picture, got Spider-Man. But I thought, Jesus, I was looking at it and I was like, Jesus, he's getting destroyed.
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like even Thanos wasn't this bad. Like, Jesus Christ.
Right. Did you notice anything new from the second viewing or from the re-release viewing or whatever?
The things I noticed, what really stood out to me is that I appreciated how each of the Spider-Man films in this home saga have really hammered home with great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that the people who have the power to change things should change things and do the responsible thing.
Yeah.
Even though it's not Peter's stuff that's getting stolen in Homecoming. He has a responsibility for it to not be stolen, to do the right thing. You know what I mean?
And not in the wrong hands, right?
Not in the wrong hands. You know what I mean? He didn't have to.
Also,
he was told not to.
He saves Vulture, right? Like against Vulture's like wants and desires. He saves them, right?
Mm-hmm. And Far From Home, it explores that idea of like it's you can't. It's a responsibility you can't give away. It's yours and yours alone. Or you can share the responsibility, but it's not something you can ever stop having or giving away. And that's, but in this one, I think it's that to the like nth degree of, number one, these aren't your villains. These aren't even your problems. These aren't even like your issues to solve. Like another universe's problems. And yet you still have a responsibility to do the right thing and do right by these people. And I think it's very helpful that, depending on how you look at it, that in the last two movies, Peter Parker is looking up at Tony, and he's looking up at the Vulture, and he's looking up at all these heroes. But he's looking, I guess, sideways, looking, people level to him, but slightly above, because it's like the previous Spider-Man. But, hopefully in the next saga, whatever it may be called, he's interacting with people who are not above him, who are not his mentors, but his equals. So I think this is a great opportunity in the next saga to bring in a Harry Osborn or another hero. Like, I think him and Kate Bishop would really hit it off.
Dating wise?
Yeah, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, just people who he's equal with. And now he has an opportunity to do that. And if we ever get to a third trilogy, God forbid, that's the time to bring in Miles.
Boom.
Because then he's looking down.
Yes.
It's kind of like a Childish Gambino. Not Childish, Chance the Rapper album cover. You know what I mean? He's looking up, he's looking at you, and looking down,
I wasn't sure where you're going with that, because I thought when you said childish, I thought you were going to talk about Miles, but then you're like Gambino, and then I was like, oh yeah,
no,
Donald
I meant to say
Glover
Chance
was
the
in
Rapper.
Homecoming.
Not a real fan.
But then you messed up, and you were like, yeah.
No,
okay.
I do agree with you. I
Real
missed some
sorry.
of that because my battery died. But
Oh, you
yeah,
missed so much.
second.
Oh no, I was just gonna say
No,
like
I missed
Sinister
some, but I
Six,
caught on to that.
Sinister Six in number 6, and then in number 7, after Peter's gone through this big, huge moment of being an individual defeating the Sinister Six, we have Miles. You know what I mean? Like in
I don't need the Sinister Six. I need Tom to have equals.
Oh, wait.
Because I don't think he has equals that he can talk to in this universe.
Yeah.
That he can meet legally. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's a whole rigmarole, but like to get Spider-Man to talk to anyone. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And there's very few people currently in the universe that could look at him like equals. Thor is not his equal. Kate Bishop could be his equal. I don't think Miss Marvel could be his equal. You know what I mean? Yes,
Kate
like
and Miss Marvel are smaller, but like Shang-Chi would be his equal.
Yes, that's an equal. Just people he can be on the same level as, And
if we're gonna use the comics as a reference, Human Torch is about to arrive. You could do the Johnny Storm, Peter Parker rivalry.
Perfect time.
That would be Yeah.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
My take on Shang-Chi
There you
is
go.
that yes, let's get a new Spider-Man and his amazing friends, right? Like, let's get
I think that's the next title, Spider-Man and his amazing friends, because that's the best part about these Tom Holland things. That also surprised me. This staggering amount. I'm like, damn, having a supporting cast is amazing.
Yeah.
Having a Peter Parker that can talk to people. Who knew? You know, like the fact that Ned, he was talking to Spider Maguire was talking to Ned. He's like, "Did you have a best friend?" Yeah, but he tried to kill me. I'm like, damn, he didn't have anyone to talk to. Andrew didn't even have a friend. He never had a friend.
Yeah.
Ever.
No. But
Hey, I never thought about it until just now, but you're absolutely
He
right.
has no friends. That's
no
so
friends.
weird to me.
Well,
that's
Harry-
the best part.
I mean, Harry in that number 2 where he was like, "You left a long time ago, but you
Friends.
were like my best friend, Harry." Like,
At least James Franco and Tobey Maguire got along for one movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
he
they
didn't
were
even have
friends,
one
you know?
movie with a Harry. Yeah.
wait, did they
At
not
least
get
like
along in
talk.
number 2?
That
No,
too
but
is
like
the
end
one where
of
he
end of
figured
one
out.
is when end of one is when he starts being like, Spider-Man killed my dad.
Yeah.
I gotta kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I got you, Peter. You're my best friend.
Yeah. I would yeah, like I want to see what I was gonna say is Shang-Chi. My thing about Shang-Chi is I don't like Act 3 because I like Shang-Chi when he's an amazing character in this like real world. So I like the whole like fighting in the buildings with the battle royale, like the rumble, whatever, the cage fights and whatever. I like that up until they go to this like secret dimension village. I don't really like that. Like that's not my thing. I would love to see Shang-Chi like be roommates with Peter Parker. You know what I mean? Like let's see Spider-Man and his amazing friends, but with Simu Liu is so charming and charismatic. Like let's see him like hang out. You know,
Just broing down with Spider-Man. Yeah.
And
That would be
throw
fun.
in Johnny, throw in Johnny, and like
Yeah.
I would sign up to watch a movie where the 3 of them are roommates.
Easy. That's
Yeah.
so easy. Like you can do
That's
that. You can make
printing
that
money.
tomorrow.
That's printing
But
money.
Spider-Man needs his equals because
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
very apparent that he has none.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
immediately. I mean, Black Cat.
It would
mind
be
that.
nice to see him date a Felicia Hardy and have them both have their secret identities where they neither of them know each other. Or is that too Batman and Catwoman?
It's already
But
ripped
no, but
off,
that's-
bro. Come
I
on.
mean, yeah. They didn't even try to make it a different animal. They're just like, she's also a cat. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But that's always been their dynamic, though, is that she's more into at least in the beginnings of it, that she's more attracted to Spider-Man than she is Peter Parker. So
Yeah.
I think having them not be aware of their alternative identities would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shit bit.
But yeah, I agree with you, just as much as I would love to see Miles in live action, we have
We
the
have time.
superior Into the Spider-Verse movies to hold us off on that. And then Tom Holland, I think, needs to be a bit more of an adult before Miles can enter the picture if
Yeah.
we're going to do it with Tom Holland.
He needs to not only be more of an adult, he needs to look like an adult because Tom Holland is 26 and he still looks.
He needs to die.
What?
Peter Parker needs to die.
Not in real life.
Oh,
No.
I thought Tom Holland.
No.
I was like, oh shit.
I had to this is a slight tangent because I had to read I stopped reading Miles Morales Spider-Man and I was like, he's just the other Spider-Man. Like, why doesn't Miles have a signature cast of villains?
Are you
Yeah,
talking about the Saladin Ahmed run you didn't like, or was
the
this
current one?
the one that's previous?
I stopped reading after I think he teamed up with Rhino. And I was like,
You should keep reading because he adds in a lot of like villains that are.
oh, he
his.
does?
Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, he gives them. There's Starling. There's the
Starling.
Assessor. There's he does a lot of good stuff with the Prowler in it that I think is really well done.
Prowler keeps
I think it's
popping
worth
back up.
reading.
Like Uncle Aaron.
He
Prowler.
should. I like the Prowler.
I do too.
Yeah.
But like, I do agree that like he does need to expand his rogues because he also just
Yeah.
fights a lot of Peter's rogues too.
I think that
How
run
are
does a
they?
good job of giving him his own rogues. It starts off with the Rhino stuff, but it's I think you could tell he was making a concerted effort to be like he needs to have his own villains. And then from then on out, like Starling's a great character. She's awesome. The Vulture's granddaughter.
Do you know that, Justin? Do you know Starling?
Nope. I stopped breathing.
So
oh, you should check it out. I think you'll like it.
You know how in Homecoming, Adrian Toomes is white, obviously, and then he has Liz, his daughter, who's half.
Yes.
Right. In the comics, we didn't get that, right? Like Liz Allen is totally different. Adrian Toomes is white, but like in the comics now, Adrian Toomes has a black granddaughter. I don't know. I don't know how it broke down, but she's his granddaughter, which I think is inspired by Homecoming, right?
It definitely is because she appeared around that time, yeah.
And Miles and her have a thing. Starling is her name.
I don't want Miles to be the other Spider-Man.
No.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I agree.
And I think it would be better if he was the Spider-Man.
It's a Wally West Barry Allen situation, but compounded even more, being that he is a black character. People bought that Barry was dead and Wally was Flash, but people will always. It's just like Sam being Captain America. People are gonna be like, "That's Black Cap. That's Black Spider-Man. That's not."
But Steve is gone. Steve is like mega gone. You know what I mean?
But people
gone.
are still not buying Sam. People still not buying Sam.
I mean, he could use a better suit, but that's a whole nother podcast.
I want him to cover up his head. I personally want him to cover up his head, and that's the only thing.
Hey, I'm Captain America. And I'm like, bro, come on. Come on.
I just don't like the idea that, like, what if his head gets chopped? Just the top unprotected part.
You need to feel the winds. The wind's changing against you. You don't understand. See, this is why you can't be Captain America.
I'm sorry. Steve didn't have his hair showing up top.
I wish it was thinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looks like he's wearing a football player suit.
Yeah.
And like for a flying character, I would just want it to be like thin. Not thin, but like lighter.
Also
sleeker. Yes, exactly.
He's buff in and of himself. Like
plus since he's made of vibranium, it doesn't have to look like armor because that's the whole thing with vibranium, is it's super light and very dense.
Right. But like so with in the comics, what I want from Peter Parker in the comics is Peter Parker to just finally get married to Mary Jane, have a kid, and then still be Spider-Man, but like Miles Morales is the Spider-Man. Like Peter Parker can get his family drama like comic, but Miles would need to be the 616's Spider-Man, and so it would be nice if the movie kind of did that as Tom Holland to pass it off.
To Justin's point, I think the thing that frustrated me was I like that run a lot, and I think it does a good job of within that comic being like, no, Miles is Spider-Man.
Which one?
But the problem is that the Solid and Med run that we've been talking about. But I think the problem is that Marvel didn't do anything to like really properly promote it and elevate it. Like I think that's the frustrating thing, is that I think they can coexist, but I think Marvel has to do a better job of spotlighting and uplifting Miles in the same way they spotlight and uplift Peter Parker. Like, for example, this past week they had Amazing Fantasy number 1000 come out. It's just stories about Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like, I know Miles Morales wasn't in Amazing Fantasy 1000, but if Miles Morales is Spider-Man, he should have at least one story in that comic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Marvel still pushes Peter Parker as the one true Spider-Man, right?
Right.
And sometimes the only way to change that is to take Peter Parker off the board.
Sure.
But I think,
forever.
Like, maybe I'm saying at least let him retire. Let him create a family. I think Peter Parker Spider Dad would be just a better, because they did that with Clark Kent, and I'm cool with it.
Part of me has given up hope for a truly revolutionary Spider-Man comic book run, because it feels as though, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, because I'm not currently reading any Spider-Man.
No,
wait, can I correct you if you're wrong?
No, just Brian. It feels as though there can be no true forward momentum for this character anymore. And that there's never going to be a for real, like, he's with Mary Jane for real this time. There's never going to be he has a kid for real this time, because it will always, more so than other characters, will always go back to zero in a way that other characters can't because of the Sony relationship. And all the things that we like about Spider-Man, and all the things that we remember about Spider-Man, is when he had rapid forward momentum. You know, when Gwen Stacy died, when he got the black suit. You know what I mean? Like those.
Well, just the fact that he aged, like no other superhero character except maybe like Dick Grayson and like Jason Todd have aged the way that Peter Parker has. He actually graduated high school. He graduated college. I will be shocked if Kamala Khan and Miles Morales ever graduate high school. I will legit be shocked if that ever happens. But Peter Parker like got up to the point where he's like, you watched me go through high school, go through college. And I think that forward momentum scares a lot of comic book people because it leads to questions of, if Peter Parker is moving forward, why isn't everybody else?
Well, I mean, I might
is their problem. I'm not saying that like that makes it okay, but like that's their problem to figure out. I didn't fucking pay me to be the editor.
The fact that we like Kitty Pryde has aged.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Kitty Pryde's at least 25 now.
Right. Yeah. She's another one.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
But I also get the impression
there are little hints in the comics on how long has the current Marvel universe been around. Now,
the sliding timeline.
But a sliding timeline, but it's a sliding timeline as far as what generation. But it's also it does slowly.
Yeah, very slowly.
It does very slowly. Like Captain America got unfrozen from ice after September 11th.
Yeah,
like he wasn't there for September 11th.
Now
in a sliding timeline, you can't say that Captain America has been around for 22 years. The Marvel universe has not lasted 22 years. I say it's been 15 years. That's what I say. And the only way you can do that is
Peter's
to chart
30.
What's that?
So Peter's like 30.
I would say so.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of like, he's won't get married. He won't settle down. Well, he's still broke.
It's because of our fascination,
a true millennial.
Our fascination with, Peter Parker's a millennial. Like, let him, like, I understand the problems. I get it. But no, I think it's the idea that we want to torture Peter. It's angst, right? Spider-Man shouldn't run on this, but it runs on angst. And that's the biggest hurdle that Peter has when it comes to like settling down and having kids, is then how do you have that angst? And I think maybe retire the angst from Peter. That they often talk about that Parker luck, where it's a negative thing, right? Where he's always suffering. Why don't we just realize that, like, sure, ups and downs is part of storytelling, but we don't have to torture the guy and make him suffer every step of the way.
I will say two things to that. One, Justin, going back to your point about like it doesn't seem like that they'll ever let him move forward. I think that is also largely the fault of the current editorial of Marvel Comics, who is still very much stuck in the mindset of we need to not let him get married and let him move forward at all for whatever their reasons are. I think the fan base largely disagrees with that idea. I think if you polled a group of Spider-Man fans, I think they'd largely say we'd rather see him settle down and have a marriage.
Yeah.
But I would also say that like your problems aren't all solved when you get married and have a kid. I can say this from experience. And the idea of
don't
Peter...
tell Justin that marriage doesn't solve all your problems. He might read...
fair warning, Justin. Marriage doesn't solve all your problems. But especially if you're a superhero, you know? I think you could still tell stories that feel like they involve the Parker luck.
Yeah.
Of Peter trying to balance being a husband and a dad.
Yeah.
And be Spider-Man. I think that can be done. I just don't think they want to do that.
Yeah. Some of my favorite stories in DC Comics is when Green Arrow and Black Canary are going to get married. So you have all these like one shots about like, what's the bachelor party like? What's the bachelorette party like? like the girl superheroes go to this like male strip club that has like male dancers that are dressed as superheroes. And it's just this funny thing. They're like, I want a lap dance from Batman. I want a lap dance from Animal Man. Like, let's see how that goes, you know? And like, I think that's kind of funny. Though actually it brings up a lot of questions, but no, we're gonna go past that. But when Green Arrow and Black Canary get married, all the heroes are there and the villains like drop in to like ambush all the heroes. And like, I forget what happens with it, but it was super fun. And like, there are still stories you can tell with like, let's get a writer who's been married. So that's not me, but like, let's get a writer who's been married to write stories about Peter having not marital problems, but just the normal ups and downs of marriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It can be done. Really, I think, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
You know what like really pushed me over the edge when it comes to reading Spider-Man? It was two things. It was one, when for like a hot second, like the hottest second, he had a real job at the Daily Bugle. I think he was an editor. And I was like, finally, about time. And then he got his doctorate taken away, and then he got fired from the Daily Bugle because everyone realized it was Dr. Octopus that did all that shit. I was like, motherfucker. Coupled with the fact, I read like a month later that like Rogue and Gambit got married. And I was like, God damn it. If Rogue and Gambit can get fucking married.
It's because the X-Men allowed
excuse, Peter? Yeah, like there is no scenario where those two characters are going to date anyone else, and then if they do, they're going to come back to each other. They are such a package deal. They are Mary Jane and Spider-Man of X-Men. Oh wait, we already have a Mary Jane and Spider-Man in real life. Like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we fucking around? Like, there's no magical. Gwen Stacy's not coming back. He's not going to go with Felicia. It is Spider-Man and Mary Jane. Why aren't they together at the like and married? Like, sorry.
I just realized something. In Spider-Man No Way Home, they never say the name Gwen Stacy.
Because Gwen Stacy doesn't exist.
I'm gonna say the opposite.
That maybe he'll meet a Gwen Stacy in the future.
That Tom Holland could meet Gwen Stacy. And that
he says Gwen. Because he says Gwen, she was my MJ.
Who does he say?
I'm almost certain he says Gwen. Good question. That's a good question.
Yeah, he does. He does say.
I feel like he says,
I had a Gwen. She was my MJ. But it's really funny because he also had an Uncle Ben, but I guess his main trauma is Gwen. All right, cool.
Well, also Tom has an Uncle Ben, but he never says what happens.
Does he?
He does. Ben Parker is on his suitcase. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he just left. Who knows?
Like he's. Yeah.
I'm out. Yeah. I saw the writing on the wall. You're not off of me this time. Keep a suitcase, kid.
I'm wondering if Gwen Stacy could pop up, but personally, I would love a Felicia Hardy romance going forward.
Sure.
Who would you cast?
I like the Insomniac Spider-Man game version where she seems like she's at least part Asian.
She's Asian?
In the video game. That's the way I interpreted her character.
Look this shit up.
Look up her design. I personally see her as half Asian in that. But I think that you can have a Felicia Hardy that is Asian.
I don't see it, but you know what? Go off, man.
All right.
I'm not mad about it.
All right. But originally when Zendaya was announced for Homecoming, and they weren't saying her name originally when she was announced, I was like, I could see her as a Felicia Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My first choice was Sydney Sweeney, but I guess she's gonna be in the Madam Web movie.
Yeah.
So get the other girl.
What the hell is Sony doing?
Who's her rival?
What the hell is Sony doing? Like, honestly, though, I am more looking forward to the Madam Web movie than any of the other ones they've done.
I low-key kind of am too once I kind of figured out what the plot might be.
What do you think the plot is?
To save baby Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's going to be the Terminator.
Terminator? You think it's a Terminator thing?
No, that's the synopsis.
But you have
because
Aranya,
Ben
right?
or not.
Is Isabel
You have
Merced?
Aranya.
Who's Isabel Merced playing?
I think she's Aranya, but what's his name? Adam Scott is playing young Ben Parker, and there's set photos of Emma Roberts pregnant. Oh. So I think the theory is that Emma Roberts is Peter's mother, Ben's sister, Ben Parker's sister.
Yeah, she's just not Madam just Web's a random pregnant girl.
I mean, no.
Yeah,
but I think the theory is that it's a Terminator scenario where these various Spider Women from across the Spider-Verse have to save Mary Parker.
I'm cool with it.
Which I'm like, damn it, you got me. I kind of like that premise.
But Sony does not. I don't trust Sony. Sony, I know. You know who it is though? It's Avi Arad. Avi Arad fucks up everything. He's the one who forced Sam Raimi to put Venom in Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man or Sam Raimi just wanted Sandman. He forced Venom into Spider-Man 3, and Sam Raimi wanted to do Vulture with John Malkovich in Spider-Man 4, and it fell through. And it's it's Avi Arad. Avi Arad is the person who's pushing Venom all the time. He always pushes Venom.
Well, he sells toys. I mean, that's why.
Which is why, I mean, just make him Andrew's Venom. Easy peasy. And you know what you could do? Don't make the Madam Web movie. Make the Black Cat movie with Dakota Johnson. And then she's Andrew's Black.
Andrew's Black Cat is Felicity Jones.
We can always recast.
Yeah, I do like Felicity Jones. I do, but I'm not saying it's Black Cat. But
Dakota Johnson would actually make a better Black Cat. Hire me, Sony. Like
really, Sydney Sweeney.
For Tom's Black Cat,
Sydney Sweeney looks way older than Tom.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the whole point.
She looks very mature. She's too mature for Tom.
That's the whole point.
But that fits their dynamic.
Yeah.
I like them being the same age, but okay. In Ultimate Spider-Man, Black Cat was an adult.
Let's not do that.
Black Cat was an adult and Spider-Man was a kid. And then she was like, oh my God, I didn't know. That's what happened in Ultimate Spider-Man.
I made a TikTok like a shit post of using an audio from forever ago with Black Cat and Spider-Man, and I had someone be like, "Well, she's a groomer," and I'm like, "God damn it, Ultimate Universe, you've ruined everything."
In the Ultimate Universe, she didn't mean to. She just
right, but it's also like that's not what the main continuity is, which is what I'm referencing.
Yeah, what's the fuck?
I just don't understand why Sony doesn't back a dump truck full of money up to Emma Stone's house and be like, we're making a Spider-Gwen movie.
No, she aged out. I don't like it.
It's a license to print money, if you ask me.
Unfortunately, I feel like the only reason to bring Gwen Stacy anything is to kill her, and they already did that. You know what I mean?
Brutal.
It's true. Brutal. It's true. Every time you see Gwen Stacy in a Spider-Man adaptation, you're just waiting for her to die.
Spider-Man 3, she's still alive.
Not for long.
Spider-Gwen.
MJ probably did it herself.
Spider-Gwen needs to be high school age, and Spider-Gwen needs to be with Miles. Even if it's just dating for a little bit. It's fine. But
I've never been a fan of her dating Miles. That's weird to me. It's so weird to me, the Miles dating thing. I've never been into that.
Well, she's a lot younger.
Miles has 5 other better potential love interests. Bombshell's one. Kamala is one.
I do like
if you're talking the comics.
I do like
Starling is one. Starling and him really took off for me. So yeah, he's got much better potential love interests.
Isn't there a girl that he dates that Genki ends up dating?
There is in the Saladino Med run, yeah. So there's better options out there for Miles.
And Genki is
Gwen just feels weird. Going back to Justin's point about him not feeling like his own person, that makes him feel like he's really not his own person.
Oh, if he dates Gwen.
Yeah.
If
it just feels weird.
Right. Also, I would like to be like, oh, the blonde girl shouldn't be the ultimate absolute gold medal prize here, like which happens a lot
Right.
when we're dealing with
Exactly.
like characters who are like men of color, blonde women,
Right.
ultimate trophy, right?
Well, I also think Gwen should also just be allowed to be her own character and not have to be someone's romantic.
That's true. But
pursuit.
I also, we're doing layers on this. I also think it's interesting when people make that distinction when it comes to, and it happens a lot, and I have a lot of sources for this one, but like, it's like man of color and white woman, people are always like, well, this is the point in which she doesn't need a man.
Okay, all
It's
right.
constant. It happened in Tomb Raider with
Sure,
Alicia
sure.
Vikander and the
Right.
one guy, I forget his name, he was Into the Badlands, Asian
Yeah.
actor.
I know who you're talking about. I forget
Yeah,
his name on something.
they were like, then Lara Croft doesn't need
Daniel
a love interest.
Wu.
Like, can't she just stand on her own like a strong, independent woman? And it's like, yes, she can, but why are we only saying it in this scenario? Shang-Chi is the only MCU character that like does not have a love interest, and people are like,
No, yeah,
because he
that's
doesn't
messed up.
need a love interest, and it's like, well, I agree he doesn't need a love interest, but we're making we're making that now, but we don't do. Well, Steve Rogers doesn't need a love interest. Like, no, we'll give him a love interest.
Right.
I think who would be a good match for Shang-Chi in the MCU?
Oh,
Well,
I have a very.
oh my gosh,
I have a
Shang-Chi would make a
very-
great bachelor. Oh my gosh.
I think it's Colleen Wing. I want them to bring Jessica Henwick back as Colleen
He
Wing
could be good.
because they're hanging out in real life and they're gorgeous.
Actually, if Natasha is alive, I could see it.
Wait, what? Oh,
If
Natasha.
Natasha is alive,
We're talking Romanoff.
yeah, I see it.
Wait,
yeah.
didn't you? Wait, what did you say in your videos? Which, like, no, sorry, that's different. I'm gonna tie it in with I don't see Natasha dating. Actually, I don't see Natasha dating anyone, but least of all,
I think Natasha and
anyone-
Shang-Chi.
you
I
think
see
so?
it. Yeah, I see
Give
it.
her you give her credit in that respect.
I kind of see it.
Okay, so here's my pitch. Here's my pitch, right? Natasha, everyone's going after her. You know what I mean? Like, but in this world, however wrong it felt, she went after Bruce, right? Someone who wasn't going after her, right?
Yeah, that's Joss Whedon's thing, though.
Here's my pitch. I feel as though Natasha would like see Shang-Chi and be like, oh, he's just a guy. He's not really that cool. He's not, and then he's gonna like kick Abomination in the face and be like, oh, restraint.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, like
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you there.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think she's into a soft confidence.
Okay.
You know, where it's like Shang-Chi knows he's the shit. He knows he could kick everyone's ass, but he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna ruin everyone's night. You know what I mean? I'm gonna walk you to your car, gonna have the umbrella for you, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, a soft confidence. Like she's into guys who aren't gonna go after like drooling over her. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my pitch.
Mhm.
I have a runner-up, but before I do, I wanted to ask you, Justin, in your series of would they date a black person, would Natasha date a black person?
And
What'd you say? Would you do her?
I said that Natasha would most likely had several opportunities to be approached by black people, and I feel as though she would.
Okay.
She has probably had several opportunities to date people of color.
Does that mean she's dated around in just multiple different countries and scenarios and whatnot?
No, I think that there's a certain type of women that men of color are attracted to, and she has a fat ass. That's what it is.
Oh, that's true too. That is true. I was also gonna say
Jesus.
I was also gonna say it as a redhead.
Yeah. Well, prime example. I'm like example number one. Anyway, but
Did you say your example number one?
yeah, because my future wife is a redhead. Anyway,
Yeah.
but I feel as though Natasha would have several opportunities to date men of color.
Yes.
So I don't think that she's like racist or anything to say no. You know?
I was thinking redhead. You're like fat ass.
It's true. It's true.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Carol Danvers and Shang-Chi.
No.
See, I was thinking
because
I
in
was
real
thinking
life they're tight, and Dustin Daniel Cretton, the director, what's his name? Dustin Daniel Cretton is Brie Larson's director for some stuff, and then they've met in Shang-Chi. I was thinking she was dating him. Anyway, in real life.
This is very meta that you're suggesting that the director's gonna like set them up on tape.
Well, Simu Liu has done like stuff with Brie Larson, like for interviews.
Right. I was gonna say Shang-Chi. I was gonna say Shang-Chi and Monica Rambeau.
Shang-Chi and She-Hulk.
Oh,
that's better.
Okay,
that's better.
I like that.
They have a good time. They're gonna have a good time.
That would be good.
Feel it.
I love the short guy, taller girl dynamic.
Sure, which is funny because it would fluctuate. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
I like that.
Feel it. She-Hulk and Shang-Chi. Oh,
you know what's great about Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi is not insecure. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
We're talking about him being reserved and being appropriate and whatnot. Great, but also like he has nothing to prove.
Nothing to prove. He knows he's the shit.
Exactly. He knows he's the shit, and that's something that sets Shang-Chi apart from a lot of other guys.
Exactly.
In real life and in these movies, is that like
totally yes.
So
which I think She-Hulk would be into. I think she would find that very attractive.
Just
She-Chi. That's their couple name.
Yeah. What'd you say, Justin?
Their Chi-Chi is their couple name.
She-Chi. She-Hulk and Shang-Chi.
Or not She-Hulk?
It's She-Chi.
Or She-Hulk?
She-Hulk and Shang-Chi. Chi.
You're spelling it S-H.
She-Hulk.
No, Chi-Chi.
She-Hulk.
This is getting worse by the second.
S-H-E.
Okay.
C-H-I. Chi-Chi.
I mean, we could do a whole 2 hours. We could do a whole 2 hours of shipping characters here.
What the fuck does that have to do with Spider-Man?
Relationship drama, just like Spider-Man.
It did stem off like Tom Holland, Spider-Man. Who's he gonna date in number 4? Right.
Right.
So we're talking about Felicia Hardy. We're talking about Gwen Stacy. Like, but then you were like, oh, him and Kate Bishop could hang out. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know. Though I would love, and Kamala has to be older for this. I would love to see Peter Parker kind of pull a Bruno and try to like put himself in Pakistani culture in order to like just like getting to know the culture a little bit.
It'd be easy.
I can see them being buddies.
No,
they should not date.
No, because I like Miles and Kamala if anyone's gonna date.
Right.
But
I would love to see. Yeah. I would love to see an adaptation of the story where Peter Parker and Kamala swapped bodies, and Peter Parker experienced what menstrual cramps are like for the first time.
Real?
That was an amazing story. Yeah, it was in a Marvel team-up comic written by Eve Ewing, and Kamala and Peter swap bodies. It's very funny because Peter doesn't know how to use Kamala's powers properly, so she's walking around with like a giant head and like a floppy arm that doesn't work right. It's really good.
Oh, interesting.
Good issue. Highly recommend it. It's like a 2-part story.
Okay.
Check it out.
I think No Way Home, bringing it back to that, was just as we're finishing up. I originally said it was like a 10 out of 10, and now that I'm viewing it, and also it's not just the fact that I viewed it a second time, but like, because I haven't viewed it since. It's not just that, it's also the 9 months that have passed that we've gotten Phase 4 content, we've seen things. It's not the movie's fault the way certain people behave in real life, but it kind of does set this bad expectation of like, what do we want? What can we get? Because it used to be what do we want and what can we get are 2 different things. Like,
right.
And now it's like anything can happen, but it's up to Marvel to figure out like what is worth happening. Because that's also
right.
If anything is possible, what do we want to happen then? What is worth happening? I think that's a different question.
Yeah. And what makes the best story, I think, is the other big question.
Right.
Which I think largely Marvel has been able to answer that question well of what makes the best story. But sometimes I think fandom wants things that wouldn't make a good story, and you end up with this push and pull.
Right. So. Then again, we also have to trust that the writers know what they're doing, and sometimes they don't, because like the writer of
Right,
Loki
of
did not know jack shit about timelines and multiverse shit, and they fucked it up. They fucked it up real bad. Like time
How
travel.
so?
Oh, don't get. I mean, that's a whole different thing. The timeline in Loki, it doesn't make any sense with the TVA. Like it just.
How?
All right. That's.
Go ahead, get on your soapbox.
Go, do it.
Oh, I'm tired. Okay, so
Old Dimitri would have done it.
Give
Come
the
on.
first version. Give one simple example.
when you have a split in the timeline, okay, it has to
Yes.
come from a specific place. Now, in a lot of science fiction, we view it as a choice, right? Do you go left or do you go right? And that splits the timeline, right? Those are a choice equally, or a dice roll, right?
Right.
But in a timeline where Thor is also, alternate timelines are different than multiverses. You can have alternate timelines in the same universe. Fantastic Four deals with it a lot in the comics, where there's or any comic where there's alternate futures. Days of Future Past it's a possible future, but it's not a different universe in the multiverse. There could be a different universe in the multiverse that deals with Days of Future Past, but that's a different thing. But possible futures aren't necessarily different universes. But when we deal with a female Thor, at what point was she...
Do you mean Loki? Female Loki?
Sorry, female Loki, yes. When you deal with a female Loki, at what point was she female? What is the splintering off that they need to prune? The only way in my head it makes sense is if there was a moment in time in young Loki's life where he's just switching back and forth between male and female, fine. And then Loki is like, do I want to change back to the male presenting Loki that we see? Or do I want to stay in this female presenting form? And by staying in the female presenting form, that creates an alternate timeline that then needs to be pruned. But that's a very specific situation. Point being is, the choices that we make are still determined by some previous things, right? Right. But in Loki, they say the guy got late to work, and thus it's a pruned timeline. Why was the guy late to work? There's something before that.
Justin, what were you going to say?
So I have a no prize explanation, to quote Brian.
I love a no prize explanation.
So here's my theory, right? Stay with me. I don't think Sylvie is Loki. I don't think she ever was a Loki. In that, here's my evidence.
Yeah.
There is no other female variants in that wasteland.
Yeah.
Zero. There is no other blonde variants in that scenario.
Right.
Right? We also have a scenario where this character can not only shapeshift, but jump into other people's bodies. Right?
When did that happen?
Yeah, she uses her magic to control other people's bodies.
Other people's bodies.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like puppeteer.
Number 3, she's based on a character that's not Loki. She's Enchantress.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? She's dressed like Enchantress. She's not Loki at all, you know? I think that the only reason why her timeline was pruned at all was because A, Kang knew that he needed Sylvie in that room scene to make that decision. That is the only reason why she was pruned. Or it was a mistake. Nobody knows. She asked that lady, the head of the TVA, why was that pruned? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I think it was a mistake. Because she doesn't look like she doesn't act like a Loki. She doesn't look like she doesn't have Loki powers. She doesn't even remember who her mother looked like. You know?
Right, but she was Asgardian royalty in her timeline. She was there.
That doesn't mean she's a Loki.
No, I know, but any difference in the timeline, in the sacred timeline, is pruned. There's only one timeline. But the problem is we also see
Justin's point about Kang knowing that he needs Sylvie to eventually get to the Citadel, he could have just chosen to be like, this kid's going to end up in this timeline that eventually gets snipped and then sends her off into this, adventure of her own.
So it doesn't matter if she's a Loki or not. Why is she the only female variant out of all of them?
Right.
No other world where like has a female variant, and if it's like you said before, if it's about decisions, why would you prune someone for a decision that they did not make? Is because Kang needed Sylvie for that moment.
Which is fine. But we also see views of alternate Lokis. In the first episode, we deal with a frost giant Loki or like a Vision or a troll looking Loki or whatever.
But they're all male presented.
Male presenting,
right.
yeah.
But I don't
think that she's a Tom Hiddleston.
There's no
You know what I mean?
branching off when the differences are that big, unless Loki's just kind of shifting and just deciding to stay as this troll-looking Loki. Like, then that's the decision. I don't know.
Also, like, if her crime was truly gender, why wasn't she pruned when she was born?
That's what I'm trying to say.
You know?
Exactly. That's
Well, I think this also, I think we're now also kind of getting into the problem that a lot of people had with this whole presentation, which is that in the comics, Loki is gender fluid and can literally change their gender presentation at will. Right. And they don't seem to want to go that way in the show, because I think what's upsetting is like there's kind of an interesting trans allegory that they could have had there, where like the TVA is literally telling Sylvie, no, you're not female, you are male, and we are going to erase you from existence because of that. But because they didn't actually make it explicit that Loki is gender fluid and able of changing his gender presentation.
They had it on the file, but
yeah, but that's not, to me, that's not canon. To me, that's not like text that then could create allegory.
I think it's equally possible that Sylvie was just probably like maybe swapped with a Loki as a kid and was messing around with
as part of Kang's larger plan.
That's the problem.
Not if Kang. You're thinking of it without Kang. Yes. They're all bureaucrats working for Kang.
Okay.
If Kang wants something done, it's going to happen.
There's other instances. There's boastful Thor, okay, who is black, but
Loki.
boastful Loki. Sorry, but he has the hammer. That's right. But that's not off this sacred timeline. At what point did the split happen? It doesn't make it unless we got. And this is all. I mean, this is it. If Tom Hiddleston is shifting towards forms, then he's like, I'm gonna stay this way. That's the choice, and then splits the time. I don't know, but the problem is,
I think the choice that splits the timeline is that he kills his Thor, and gets the hammer and all that other stuff he did.
What about
or claims to have done?
No, but like these timelines, there's one timeline.
You also, but here's the thing, Dimitri. I think your critique of it worked until we got to the end of the show, which was the reveal that He Who Remains has crafted a timeline to his design that he thinks is right. So that means that's what I'm saying. So anything that branches off that doesn't fit his idea of what the timeline should be gets cut. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to it. I think he's like, this is how the story is supposed to go.
Right.
Any variation and deviation from that story gets cut. And I think us trying to apply a logic to it of what are these branches in this, doesn't matter what we think it is or should be. What matters is that He Who Remains was like, nope, that's gone. Like, we're trying to apply logic to a madman who's like a dictator, and I don't think we should try and do that.
It's just not the way the timeline... It's just not the way the timeline works.
I'm agreeing, but that's because Kang willed it so. So that guy who was late to work, why didn't he get cut earlier? Because the Avengers needed to throw a blue car instead of his white car. You know what I mean? Like, but that's what...
There's only one timeline. I'm not saying I believe in that. I don't want that to be the case, but I'm just saying Loki sets it up. There's a timeline, and where it splits gets pruned. Unless we can buy in with the theory that Sylvie is the one exception because she needs to come back later and fulfill the prophecy in Kang's Head or whatever. Kang wills it, but any other thing, alligator Loki, like, when did that happen? That would have been in Loki's life. There was an option to become alligator.
But we also, if we're assuming that the TVA's like presentation at the beginning is correct, then there was a multiverse where all these other crazy things happened, and then it was all slammed together to create one time.
They weren't slammed; they were killed. They were pruned. Those timelines
right. But they were like, but those were in a sense like snipped, right? They were all branched and destroyed to create one single timeline, right? So I think that I think your hang up is that like you're seeing to you Alligator Loki should be like a Spider-Ham multiverse where everyone's an animal, right? I think you're trying to make a distinction between a splitting timeline and a multiverse where everything is off the wall different versus like I went right instead of left and created a split timeline.
You can do that, but you can also have alternate timelines in a given universe. It's just that multiple choices gets us to a point where Loki is an alligator. Multiple different choices gets us to that point. But after the first different choice, you get pruned. You can't compound 500 different alternate choices that get you further from the sacred timeline. You get what I'm saying?
So your argument is
every wrong choice gets pruned. So you can't compound 500 wrong choices.
So your argument is the second Loki thought maybe I should be an alligator, that timeline should have been snipped.
Technically, yes. All the experiences of alligator Loki and the 616 Loki, or whatever you want to call it, have shared experiences until the pruning.
Right.
But that doesn't explain Black Loki.
It doesn't explain any of that. It doesn't explain Sylvie, unless if you want to say that Sylvie's the exception, that's fine. Marvel, the MCU and Endgame has always had a problem with how the time travel works, because there have been two differing theories on Endgame. The writers had a theory, and then the directors had a theory. They weren't operating on the same thing. Loki also has its own batshit crazy thing. Then we have Multiverse of Madness, where it's like, those are strictly different multiverses without a shared choice difference, right? It's not a split, right?
There are choices that are different, but it's not the same.
I think the choice, like, for example, like if Peter's great grandfather dated Sally Mae instead of Wilma, you have a completely different set of eggs. Then those people make different types of people.
That gets pruned. That's done. They don't get to make multiple wrong choices.
Because Sylvie made the choice of fuck around and find out. Now you have Spider Maguire. Now you have Spider Andrew. You know?
Yeah, now with the only argument that people say is now with Sylvie killing King and creating a multiverse of alternate timelines and whatnot, because those are technically different things. It is extended from past to present to future. Like so the multiverse has always existed, which is where we get What If, where we get Multiverse of Madness, where we get No Way Home. But,
so I think your problem with the Loki show is that they often conflated an alternate reality with a split timeline.
I mean, one of different problems, but yes.
But I think that's what the central problem is, because to you, you're like, logically, like, boastful Loki, if he's a totally different race from Tom Hiddleston, logically that would make more sense as like an alternate universe, a multiverse, rather than a split timeline. Because hopefully Tom Hiddleston didn't wake up and decide, I'm going to be a black man now, because that would create a myriad.
Why I think Sylvie is not a Loki.
Okay.
Sure.
And that's cool.
Which is why they can make out.
Yeah, it is funny how this movie really like made that scene worse, because they're like, you're like my brothers. It's like, okay, this is getting worse and worse for Loki every day.
That's I had a friend who I'm not friends with anymore that used to have friends who, like, my ex-friend used to have friends who were girls that he had dated before, and he would be like, nah, she's like a sister to me. And it's like, you don't understand how this works, my friend. You're an only child. If you date them, they are not like a sister to you. That's not how this works. Like, so yes, Loki, if he ever had feelings towards Sylvie, should not say she's like a sister, because that's not the way
I'm really hoping season 2 they clear that up, because that was
also, I do think if there was an alternate universe version of me, Demetria, let's just say, I would not consider her my sister. I'm just saying.
Yeah, fuck yourself.
It's an alternate universe version of me with different. It's a different soul, man. It's a different soul. Demetria, okay? What about Justine?
Oh my god.
What about Justine? What about Brienne?
Christine's an asshole.
I hate myself, so it's not even going to be an issue.
I don't. Okay, but would you?
I would never want to belong to a club that would have me as a member.
Is that Winston Churchill?
Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, you just had to ask me my opinions about Loki, and we've gone overtime. Really quick. I want to ask you guys what you initially rated No Way Home out of 10 on your first viewing, and now that it's 9 months later, whether you watch the re-release or not, what you rate it now out of 10. Because mine is 10 out of 10 first, and now it's a 9 out of 10 because I do have problems, but they made their choices and they went with it, and I thought they did well given the choices that they made.
I probably would give it I think then and now my rating has more or less stayed the same because I think my feelings on it are affected more by, like you were saying, outside stuff that isn't the movie's fault.
Yeah.
If we look at the movie in the vacuum, I'd probably say a good 7.5 or 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good, but it's Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a C.
I'm sorry. That's not okay. If we're gonna assign a grade value to it, then why are we doing out of a 10?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not how this works.
That's true.
You don't then assign a grade value to it with that. No, 7.5 or 8 is on the upper echelon. That's a good grade. But Into the Spider-Verse exists. It's always gonna have done this concept better. Come on.
You said Into the Spider-Verse is the best?
Yeah. Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah. Into the Spider-Verse definitely does it better.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's literally very similar premise.
Oh.
Multiverse.
Numerous other things, too. But.
Justin, are you disagreeing? You could disagree.
I don't think it's a question of better or worse. I think they're trying to accomplish two different things.
That's fair. I mean? But if I mean that in the sense of the grand scale of Spider-Man movies where we rank it, that one's always going to be my peak, my apex.
To me, it's No Way Home is a commentary on Spider-Man movies more so than Spider-Man himself.
Sure. Yeah.
It wasn't really it didn't really fulfill the goal of being Tom Holland's final act in the trilogy more so than being I guess, treaty on how people feel about the character and how the studio feels about the character in general. You know what I mean? And as a love letter to superhero movies, I think it was a good time. It was a 8 before, and I'm thinking I'm going to keep it as an 8 now. You know what I mean? Just the little things of that doesn't make sense. Do we really need that?
Maybe it's 8.5. Maybe mine's at 8.5. Because you guys are using 0.5s, and I wasn't originally using 0.5.
Good movie, solid direction. I love the redemption for Andrew. He caught her.
I know.
Nothing Jesus. Oh my gosh. I think weirdly, Maguire is better as an older Peter, a seasoned Peter.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I needed that until I saw it. I was like,
yeah.
Also,
wow,
what I remember
better. He's giving a better. It's like the Uncle Ben is starting to leak out of him a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you said about him being a Christopher Reeve figure in a sense, because now that he's older, he feels more like an aspirational figure. He is a role model. And now that he's an older man who's maybe figured it out a little bit or struggles, but is at peace with those struggles rather than frustrated by them.
Remember that part where I think, what was it? They were making the devices, and he's like, "We're gonna save them all of them." And then everyone's like, "Really?" No, we save them all. Or when he catches the glider in Tom Holland, just feels so Superman to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. He has to be the one to remind him, no, he has to let him live,
and that can only be achieved through our relationship to Maguire and their time with the character.
Yeah.
There's no, they can't do that with Batman. There's no, you can't do that with Batman. You can't even do it with anything. It's so, did it so well. So actually, I'm 9. 9.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 9. I talked myself into it.
I think it's a good exercise when you're writing a different version of a character to, in theory, think about what do they do if they meet. Like, what are the differences, right? Like, you could do this with anything. You could do this with, like, Robert Pattinson's Batman versus Michael Keaton's Batman versus Christian Bale and Ben Affleck. What if the four of them hung out? How do you make them different? Are they different? Are they different enough? And if they're not different enough, I don't think they spent enough time writing that character and fleshing that character out. But these ones, they're different. And that's better.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you see that just with the costuming of them when they first arrived, because I think it's very deliberate that Andrew is fully in Spider-Man costume while Toby is dressed like a normal guy, because
like
Andrew has gotten I think Andrew has gotten lost in the Spider-Man persona and is just Spider-Man all the time because of the traumas he's experienced, while Toby is like, no, I like being Peter Parker just as much as I like being Spider-Man, and that's who I will enter this film as.
I do think he's a small big brain thought before we leave. I don't know if we have time, but that being said, with what we're praising the movie for, I do find it odd that the movie rejects that at the end of removing Peter's support system. He chooses Spider-Man over Peter Parker. He chooses in a way that his predecessors urged him not to do.
But for a different reason.
He thinks that's the good choice. You know, he chooses Spider-Man all the way. No supporting cast. I'm building my own suit. I'm in a shitty apartment. When what made this Peter so special and so transcendent in a way is his support network. So much so that they brought it from other movies to help him out. You know what I mean? Which is odd. So that's
quick question for you guys before we get going. Do you guys think that MJ and Ned are gone forever?
I hope forever they sit out a movie to make it stick.
Yeah,
I want them to sit out one movie to make it like feel something. Like I don't want a scenario where what is it?
It just gets undone.
Or where guys, I don't know. I'm gonna be Hulk forever. I'm gonna go save the world and be Hulk forever. Actually, nope, I'm good. Actually, I can't turn into Hulk now. Wait, I can't turn into Hulk? Wait, I have an inhibitor chip now. Wait, it's broken. I'm the Hulk forever. Fuck. You know?
Yeah.
You don't want a lot of off-screen developments.
Well, I think if we start Spider-Man, you know, home for home for going for
home for Furious.
Home for me, whatever. I think if you start off with a time skip a little bit, right? Because time has passed and he's been alone and you see a little bit of the life he's created alone and separate. And then you get them back together and you see how that works, then it still means something. And it shows, you know, how he treats this new thing a little bit better. But the question, or he's slowly stalking them, kind of like how Andrew did it with Gwen Stacy in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But he's keeping tabs on his friends. And at the end of number 4, he reveals it. And now we move on.
Or we can turn the supporting cast on its head. Give him a love interest that's not so into him. Give him a best friend that is his rival. You know what I mean? Like
Eddie Brock.
Or Harry Osborn, the other Goblin character.
There's so many good supporting Spider-Man characters that I feel like if it's well cast, you could get away with having Ned and MJ off screen for at least one movie and build out a new crew of people for Peter to have in his life that we get attached to, and then maybe bring them back in the fold at a later time. But I do agree with you, Justin. Like
Harry.
It wouldn't be terrible. I don't think he's ever going to do these movies.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 ruined Harry. I don't know.
Casted well, though.
Yeah.
Execution horrible.
I don't know. I say take somebody deeper in the lore, like Sin Eater.
No.
Sin Eater.
No.
Sin Eater's just a dude with a gun.
No, like I popped my head back into Spider-Man comics and I was like, Green Goblin's a good guy because of a guy named fuck this. I'm back out. I'm like, what?
I'm excited to see I'm excited to see what's going on with this Norman Osborn, Harry Osborn, and this Spider-Man cartoon that's coming out.
It has to be an alternate universe. It doesn't make sense if it doesn't.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't care.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Is Runaways canon in the MCU?
Runaways, the series?
Yeah.
No, not technically.
So how is Nico there? Nico Minoru.
I don't need things to be canon. Hyper time. I'm all about hyper time.
No, hyper time isn't that everything is. It's that things are not canon. Anyway, whatever. Okay, whatever. We're not getting into hyper time. That is a whole nother. That is DC Comics lore here. I want to thank you guys both so much for coming on the show. I know it's 3 hours later for you guys.
That's great.
I want to thank you guys. I want to thank BT Artist for being out there on Twitch. He hasn't said anything recently.
What a nerd.
But, thank you so much. Thank you to anybody out there watching or listening. If you're watching our live streams, that is on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. But if you are listening to the live stream, it's wherever you get your live streams from. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Brian, where can we find you online? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
You can find me on TikTok at Captain Comics Rex. That's RECS, like recommendations. That's where you can see most of the stuff that I make. I do comic book recommendations, talk about comic history, fun facts, things of that nature. So if you enjoyed my ramblings today, check it out. And as always, support your local public schools. That's my plug.
Yeah. Justin, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? What do you got to plug?
Well, you can find me wherever toys are sold at Freddy's Roommate. But if you are a part of the main 616 MCU timeline, find me at TikTok at Freddy's Roommate. But if you are in another timeline, which is not a separate universe, but just a timeline that hasn't been proved yet, please find me at Instagram at Freddy's Roommate. But if you are in a universe where it's not sorry. I'm done.
Is that it? Okay. So pretty much
just Freddy's Roommate everywhere.
TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Freddy's Roommate, which it wasn't the case last time when we did the Spider-Man episode.
Really? Yeah.
I'm Justin Jordan.
Yeah, I have to consolidate my business.
But now it's Freddy's Roommate, and I love it.
The timelines have merged.
Both of you.
Yeah, didn't get pruned.
Both of you have social media that's the same thing across the board, which I love. As producer of this show, I love the fact that it's very easy for me to just be like, boom, one thing. So thank you guys for that.
It helps for me when you only have one social media that you really use.
You have Instagram and TikTok.
I mean, my Instagram is just my TikTok reposts.
But you still have one. But yeah, so it's not like your Instagram is like Brian Long Johns.
Right.
Then I gotta tag both of those. But thank you guys both for coming on. The Keeg Talks was on a little bit of a hiatus, and now we're back to it. So next week or the week after, I think we're talking D23 news. Whenever D23 is, we'll be going over.
That's next weekend.
Whatever is coming out of D23 next weekend, which could be Marvel stuff, could be Star Wars stuff, could be just regular Disney stuff. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? But something worth talking about. For anyone out there who hasn't followed Captain Comic Rex or Freddy's Roommate on social media, definitely go follow them. You can follow the Keeg on social media, TikTok, Instagram, our main ones at The Keeg Show. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/The Keeg Show or twitch.tv/The Keeg Show. Pretty much at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show everywhere. You'll find us Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. We got other shows coming up, but definitely stay tuned. She-Hulk After Show is every Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Andor After Show is going to start up, and we're going to do those on Wednesday nights. So, in a 4-hour span, we'll get 2 after shows. We'll make it work. But other than that, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, so definitely stay tuned. Once again, I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. You've been watching the Keeg Talk Spider-Man No Way Home, September 3rd re-release, whatever you want to call it. All right, take it easy. Bye, guys.
super fast.